You know you're not muted for that bit, right?
Oh,
So
just hear me go.
the intro halfway through is just going to be going.
Whatever. Professionally unprofessional.
Oh dear, it is indeed. Oh,
It's not because I was second last week. So it's you introing to me.
burn.
I was the second subject, wasn't I? No, okay, so do you want to do the intro? Oh, fuck it, let's go. All right, so welcome to another episode of the... I don't know what it was for some reason.
We
Yes,
ended
welcome
on
to
the
the
Pokemon
Wiki-
Go discussion with the drink verification can.
Yes, we did. Maybe it's because I monopolised that final conversation. I thought it was my subject. I'm very sorry. So, welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this week, Karl Smallwood. We got there in the end, didn't we, Lucas?
We did in the end, yeah.
And that other voice you can hear is that of Lucas Holland, my illustrious co-host. And the Wiki Weekdays podcast, for anyone unfamiliar with the format, if this is your first episode, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making this the first of the podcast we listen to. We've done about 100 other ones, so you can go listen to those. We also do weekly episodes, either hosted by myself or by Lucas. And the basic premise is we scour the lengths and breadths of the internet for a wiki on a subject we're interested in, bring it forward for discussion, and see what kind of conversation arises as a result. On the podcast specifically, the thing you're listening to right now, myself and Lucas like to bring forward one wiki each and then make them do legendary battle. And last week, Lucas, what two topics were brought forward for discussion?
Well, I feel like it was a bit unfair, because you decided to bring in some hired assassins known as the Faceless Men.
Yes.
And it was
And you
that
brought
thing
forth-
of I brought Pokemon Go, and there's an ongoing discussion online of, I think it's is it 1 billion or 1 trillion lions versus the 1,000 Pokemon that are out there? And you just hired an assassin to end the argument, apparently.
I did indeed, yes. I brought forward the Faceless Man. You brought forward the wiki on Pokemon Go. And as with every weeknight episode of this we do, our audience over on Discord, you can go click the link below to find it yourself, can vote on which wiki they thought won this week, because we like alliteration. And to be clear, the wiki that you can vote on is not the subject you are personally most interested in, but the one you felt brought forward the best discussion. And it seems that our audience thought that my wiki on the Faceless Men was the most interesting discussion. So well done, me. Congratulations to me. I win 5 internet points.
The thing is, I'd really like to say that Karl clearly has some kind of advantage or something. It's like, if Karl went first every week, then, oh shit, I need to move that window over there so that it doesn't black out my screen when I click on the Discord, because I was just going to send you the note of something in the intro, but
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I could have some conspiracy theory if Karl keeps winning these, because whichever wiki goes first, more people will have listened to or something. But we switch around every week.
Bias, right? Yeah.
Which one goes first? So it's it's hard to really judge any bias. And Karl keeps winning these, and apparently I just need to up my game. And I'm hoping that I've done that this week without just inviting the wrong people in.
Well, that's fine. We'll get to your wiki in a moment. But first, we've got a little bit of housekeeping, and that includes the other gimmick we like to have on this podcast, which is Pet of the Week. So, folks at home, if you follow the link to the Discord, you can find many pictures of pets or just random animals. If it's me, I'm just posting pictures of possums. That's the online.
Mm-hmm.
I got sent one earlier by a friend of ours, and it's a picture of a possum on a pizza. And the caption is, I call it a Himalayan pizza because Himalayan on that pizza, and I lost my shit.
Where was that? Where was that in Pet of the Week?
I'll send it to you so you can put it up during the break or something. Oh. But the Pet of the Week this week is Nip. And the caption that came alongside it was, this is my boy sleeping off his birthday dinner, an ungodly amount of chicken. And he's sleeping below dinosaur nugget-shaped cushions, which I want now. I'm annoyed that I don't have dinosaur nugget-shaped cushions.
Because the reason why Nip got Pet of the Week was just sheer amusement levels of I read ungodly amount of chicken and then saw chicken nugget dinosaur pillows, and my brain kind of broke for a second because I was like, wait, are the chicken nuggets getting revenge on Nip? What is going on?
Yep. And there it is, Lucas. There's Himalaya. Oh, I need to turn like the brightness down a little
Oh
bit.
god,
If
yeah, it's
you're looking up,
blurring that
there
out.
is the Himalayan on that pizza. It's just a post. Can you imagine if you went outside? Oh, it's just like my delivery guys left a pizza outside, and there's just an entire possum on it. It's like, well, I'm not getting that back, am I?
Oh god, yeah. It kind of reminds me of the British equivalent of when seagulls like just steal people's Gregs out their hands.
I was gonna say like that great picture of like that Australian bakery where it's a possum, but in Australia they're different from like North American Virginia opossums. And it's like just it got into a bakery and crawled into a box of donuts, and they opened it up and it just sat there like that. And their caption that always accompanies it is, "Kill me if you must, but I have already won."
Reminds me of the penguins that kept breaking into a sushi restaurant somewhere. And it was
I
like
like
it
all
was
that.
cold and full of fish. And they were like,
Do
this
you ever
is
see
great.
I like the seagulls in the UK that have learned how to follow people into shops when the automatic doors open and steal packets of crisps.
There was
Right?
one. And I think it was a Greg's. And it says like, you know, please don't let pigeons into the shop or whatever on the automatic doorway. But then down at pigeon eye level, it says no pigeons allowed.
Because they know, right?
And it's
Um,
like as if the pigeons are gonna read the sign and be like, oh shit.
Guess I'm not allowed in. But yeah, that's Nip is our pet of the week. If you think you've got a better, funnier picture for pet of the week, you are more than welcome to submit it at the links you will find below. But like, I want those Dino Nuggy
Yeah,
cushions right now. Oh, they're
I am.
so strong.
That I am jealous that I do not have those. I was like, it's one of those things of I've only ever seen that in the context of them being small nuggies on a plate. So I was
Yeah.
like, how small is this dog? Like, as I say, it just broke my brain for that briefest seconds of my brain trying to like
Figure out what's going
comprehend
on.
what was going on in this moment.
I do like though when every now and again it's like during the discussion goes online of like, oh, do British people even have like they don't their food sucks? It's like, well, excuse me, and it's just a platter of like waffles and turkey dinosaurs with like baked beans in the middle for dipping. It's like, I think you'll find.
It's just like the plate of beige, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
here.
But yeah, I think that's most of the housekeeping we need to do. You're gonna save some for the rest of the podcast, or
I think
got one
one
more
thing to
with
mention
this?
is that we got a lovely, delightful message from YouTube being like, "Hey, we might fuck your ads up soon."
Oh yeah. So Lucas, what was the message you got? Because you run stuff behind the scenes.
Yes, indeed. I did post a screenshot of it in the Discord, so I'll quickly take a look at what that
Say
specifically said.
specifically.
But just a brief thing that came up on YouTube Studio was like, "Hey, don't worry, guys, we've got this." And I was like what? And you know, obviously that's not exactly what it said, but it was like, "Don't worry, we can take over your mid-roll ads if you'd like. We can make them
And
like fit more seamlessly between breaks in conversation, and
do
you'll make more money." I was like, "Hang
you know
on,
that? Yeah. Do you know what I think when I read that? Oh, they're going to implement AI. That's going to do it for us.
yeah." And I
That's
clicked on the
all I think when
like,
I
"No,
see
no,
that.
no, hang on, tell me more details. What do you mean?" And for people that aren't aware, it just says quickly. I'll like try and speed run through this.
This
Starting
is
on
verbatim from
This is
YouTube, right?
verbatim, yes. Yeah. Starting on 12th of May 2025, we'll improve mid-roll quality by showing more ads at natural breakpoints. This will reduce the number of mid-roll ads shown in interruptive ad slots, not the amount of ads, such as shown in the middle of a sentence. We believe that showing fewer interruptive ads will result in more views and increase the overall revenue opportunity for creators. To prepare for this change, we recommend that you turn on automatic ad slots for your existing videos. These slots are designed to be a natural breakpoints and will work within your existing manual ad slots, creating new opportunities to show mid-roll ads when we stop showing them in interruptive points in videos. If you prefer to manage your ad slots manually, you can opt out of automatic ad slots on your existing videos until 12th of May 2025.
Yeah. So this is a thing YouTube been trying to do for years now. Like on Fact Fiend, I held off for as long as I could. And I imagine when I log into Fact Fiend tomorrow to upload like this week's video, I'll probably get the same notification of YouTube just does not like it when you have content that is over, I think over 10 minutes without putting a mid-roll ad in.
It's now
And
8 minutes. Yeah.
It's now 8 minutes. And it's to the point where Is it like when you uploaded this podcast once and you thought you're going to test mid-roll ads, see what happens? You put like 40 mid-roll ads in.
Well, no, what happens is after every single live podcast, because I put conservative automatic ads on the live podcast, it goes, okay, we'll put a conservative amount of ads in automatically until you go into the editor after it's processed a couple of hours later. And I go, okay, cool. Yeah, whatever. Conservative ads, the lowest amount of ads. And I click on our 2-hour podcast.
Like a conservative amount, right?
Yes, yeah. Conservative amount of ads. Thank you for pointing that out. And I click on our like 2-hour podcast. It's like, right, we've put in like 45 ad slots for you. Do you want any more? I think a few is okay.
We do try to be as like, transparent about this. Myself and Lucas, we both watch content online. We know how annoying ads are. So our approach to it, as it was back in the Fact Fiend days, is if it's something that would annoy us, we don't put it in. And we don't really like mid-roll ads. And our justification normally is if the video's over like 30 minutes long, then we'll put a mid-roll ad in. And a lot of our content does happen to be over 30 minutes long, but we always try to not take the piss.
Generally speaking, I put a rule in of roughly 10 to 15 minutes before each break, and then when I do put a break in, which by the way won't always get shown, it's like some will and some won't to each individual person, but that's on YouTube side of thing. But like suggested ad slot, and every ad slot I put on the weekends videos is about 10 to 15 minute break between each one, and it's after a clip ends, so that it will be after we've made a point, the clip shown, ad might happen every time. Yeah.
And we really try to stick to that rule of like, I think it's the same way it works on TV, at least in the UK, of you have to have at least 11 to 12 minutes of uninterrupted content before you're legally allowed to run an ad in the UK. So we try and stick to that.
Yeah, and then like on the podcast, it's generally, I'll just stick, but after the intro, after the first wiki, after the housekeeping, those are where the ads go, just generally. Like each break in conversation, I try not to add them like in the middle of conversation. If you've seen that, that's normally because the automated ads are still on there, right?
And saying it aloud does sound, that's quite a few, right? YouTube wants us to put at least 4 to 5 times that amount in.
More like 10 times, if not more.
And yeah, it's frustrating, and it seems that after May, we may not even have a choice to do that, and YouTube's going to put as many in as it can.
That's
so
what
we apologize.
It would imply. So a heads up to everyone. After the fact on the live podcast, like maybe the night of or the day after, depending on what I'm doing that night, I'll then put out like an ad-free version of the podcast afterwards. But generally, the videos for the weekend, they go out a little bit earlier or at the same time. Again, depending on just how busy I am, I have to manually do the ad-free ones myself. I can't schedule those, so that's a bit time dependent and schedule dependent. But they're always on the weekends, at least at the same time or earlier, for members to watch ad-free versions of each video. And there's a playlist, full of the ad-free videos and stuff. Or you can just be a YouTube Premium member, which gives us the same amount of money per view anyway as watching ads. It doesn't matter. But just a heads up for people, ads may get a lot worse in May on YouTube.
I don't think you really need to warn people what ideas. Like, hey, if you're online, shit's gonna get worse. You can just say that on any given day, and it's going to be a thing. But yeah, we've talked a whole bunch now about how much YouTube fucking sucks. So, Lucas, what worm wiki have you brought forward for discussion?
It's time to talk about how Disney sucks.
Okay, so I've seen the thumbnail, and the thumbnail is Snow White. So I imagine that the wiki that you brought forward for discussion, we're not going to be referring to the wiki all that much. It's going to be a jumping off point for a discussion about Disney's obsession with remaking all of its movies in live action, yes?
Yeah, and I generally want to talk about Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, not dwarves. Because, as you mentioned in a Fact Fiend video one time, dwarves was invented by Tolkien. It's the 7 Dwarfs with an F.
Yes. Dwarves with a V was invented by Tolkien, and there's a story told about his editor would get really pissed off because it's not dwarves with like Dwarves in the dictionary, but Tolkien's like, well, I'm talking about like fictional made-up dwarves from Middle Earth that I invented. It's spelled with a V, and he put it in his own book so much, and just every time his editor tried to change it, he bitched him out. to the point where they just added that as an alternate spelling into the dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a good lesson for life for you folks at home. If you just endlessly complain about something and are a huge stubborn dick about it, eventually everything will go your way.
Yeah, so we're talking about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a 1937 film, and it's funny because, like, just wiki-wise, it's funny of, like, seeing the politics of Wikipedia and editing on Wikipedia of, like, a request that this article title be changed to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is under discussion instead of 1937 film in brackets at the end. And it's like, that minor little thing is under discussion right now on Wikipedia of, like, do we need the 1937 film bit? The article title, like, it's like that's how nuanced people get on wiki edits.
And it makes sense. Like, if you want people to search for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, then you might need to check which version you wanted to ask about. And I'm going to say it's the same thing with like the Ghostbusters reboot. It's the same thing with the RoboCop reboot. It's the same thing with the live-action Lion King movie. In 5 years' time, when people say Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, they won't be talking about the live-action reboot.
What live-action reboot, Carl?
Exactly. It's the same thing like Ghostbusters, right? When people talk about Ghostbusters or you mention Ghostbusters, you don't need to ask them to clarify which Ghostbusters they mean, do you?
It's a bit different when I would argue that, like, in video games it might be a bit different because, for example, we've had like God of War and God of War, or Doom and Doom, and
yes,
people genuinely give a shit about both of those, but they're not straight up just remakes. They're like reimaginings of the series and reboots.
Also, as you said, yeah, people care about them because the quality's there. Whereas with like the RoboCop reboot, for example, when I say RoboCop and I hear someone say the word RoboCop, I know they're not talking about the 2014 version because no one talks about the 2014 version. It's going to be the same thing for this Snow White movie that comes out tomorrow. You said, right?
I think it's like this week at some point. We're recording currently on like 19th of March 2025. I think it comes out like Thursday or Friday this week, so the 20th or 21st or something. But it just snuck up on me, and I got one single advert. I've not seen like anyone really talking about it other than the weird, horrible incel shit of like they released a poster for it and people kicking it again and blah blah blah. But like,
no, like
in terms of marketing and advertising, I saw one thing and it was like, oh shit, that's out this week.
The only thing I saw about it is a picture of Gal Gadot as the like the evil witch, right? Evil queen.
You saw her in her IDF uniform. Got it.
Yeah. And someone just like retweeting that with just the caption like, how is it possible that in a poster I can tell she's bad at acting? How is she so bad at acting I can tell that she's not doing a good job in a static image?
Oh, dear God.
And that's the only thing I've seen about that movie. And like I said, I will bet my left nut right now, you fast forward, I want to say like not even like 6 months. When people say the word Snow White, they won't be referring to that movie because no one's going to talk about it in 6 months.
Yeah, like if I say,
wild, right? Because the original came out nearly 100 years ago. People still talk about that.
Yeah,
100 years later.
It's funny because the picture that the wiki page uses here is like, it's not even really a logo. I guess it is a logo, but it's kind of just text in a circle. But it's like Walt Disney, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs at the bottom. But in big text across the top is his first full-length feature production. And that's why Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is such a monumental film that people talk about to this day. A lot of people talk about a lot of Disney films because
Disney's is one of the most important,
just ingrained within our childhoods from nearly 100 years now. But this is one of the most important movies they've ever released.
There's this, and then there's The Lion King, which is largely regarded as the start of the Disney Renaissance. And then there's possibly Toy Story, just because of what it represents for the industry as a whole. That's more Pixar.
Yeah, right? that was a Pixar original. Then years later, they got bought by Disney. They've always worked with Disney, but they weren't like Disney owned for a long time. And obviously, the mouse has bought up half of fucking media at this point. But yeah.
So you could argue that, like, you know, it'd be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It'd be The Lion King that represents like what most people agree is the start of the Disney Renaissance, like its second golden age. Then there's just Toy Story because it's like the digital revolution.
I don't.
Maybe Iron Man, if you consider Iron Man to be a Disney movie.
It definitely is a Disney movie. Like that started as part of everything, but The Little Mermaid, I think, is what people clarify normally as
Maybe
the
a Little Mermaid
beginning
thing.
of the Disney Renaissance in the
I wasn't sure
80s,
which of the
90s.
night. Yeah, I wasn't sure which of like the 90s Disney movies came first, but whichever one it was that was first that kicked off like that legendary run they had where it's like Little Mermaid, Hercules, Lion King, Mulan, just all like banger after banger after banger, right? It's like what 10 straight years of just like absolute dominance at the box office.
Yeah, and then a couple of, I think, like quite underappreciated films that I would put in that bracket of quality in
Not
terms of
necessarily critical, not necessarily sorry, commercial success
not
though.
commercial success, but I still think that there's movies that came out around that like late 90s, early noughties period where people have gained appreciation for them over the years, but they didn't do well at the time. Where it's like, there's like Atlantis, Treasure Planet, and
Right?
Lilo and Stitch are like the big three, I think. And yeah, it's like
But Lilo and Stitch is like top tier because I rewatched it the other day because the live action trailer came out and I
yeah,
went, "Oh, this just makes me want to watch Lilo and Stitch."
and I
But
think
like
we
the good
definitely did
version.
cover Lilo and Stitch on another video, whether it be a
Yes.
podcast or a video that I did myself. I think it was a video, so I could put clips in. But either way, you can go check that out after this podcast. But
Am I right in thinking as well your favorite Disney movie, Lilo and
yes,
Stitch? And
yeah.
so, what do you think of the live action trailer then? Do you give a
Um,
shit?
I generally don't give a shit. It's a bit disappointing to see them kind of miss the point a lot because, as far as I'm aware, like casting wise, I think people were mentioning like Nani's not a native Hawaiian, which is Lilo's sister, and
I will
like
say the little girl they got to play Lilo is fucking that is right on the money.
yeah, it seems that I don't know whether that actor is native Hawaiian or not, but like they look right and they are acting correct in the trailer. Like they seemingly got Stitch right,
They
but
even got the same voice actor back for Stitch, which begs
right.
the question: what's the fucking point? If you're just going to make the same movie with the same beats, the same actors telling the same story,
But
what's the point?
yeah, that's why I don't watch any of these because they remake the film and make it worse because like one of
It was
the
like you mentioned, yeah, you mentioned like Doom, right? Of
yeah
Doom 2016 being a reboot, a reimagining almost of the first Doom game, realized with new technology. Like
hmm
even Star Wars, to an extent, as much as people shit on those like special editions, at least George Lucas changed something. You can argue he didn't change it for the best, but he
hmm
changed something. They don't change anything in these live action movies. They make them look worse.
no, and a couple of people mention like business reasons in chat, and that's all it is. Like
It's all it is, yeah.
that's it's just completely soulless business reasons, and it's like I get that they're doing it because of that, but then the fact that there's a lot of people out there like, oh man, what do you think about this remake? It's like, I couldn't give a shit, and like
I,
the
I'd probably have more respect if they just admit us straight up we're doing it because we want to maintain the copyright.
but then like it seems as though they're missing the point so much as like people have pointed out and were very upset that like Pleakley, who is one of the two aliens, like they were I think voiced by a man, but they constantly like dressed in their disguise as a woman. And then the moment like the person's disguise is like knocked off and it's like this weird hologram disguise instead of them dressing
Yeah.
up into the outfits, it's like a man hologram, like a male hologram that then gets knocked off into Pleakley being just without any clothes on. And
And
it's
here's
like,
the
but
thing as
that's
well.
such an iconic thing is like just Pleakley slaying all these different random like women disguises and then being this couple and they've just taken that element away and then they've
Also,
got
just the fact, like, yeah, animation tends to be more exaggerated.
mhm.
Like, there's the whole thing about like Stitch being able to transform, which I guess he can do is now a weird CGI monstrosity. But
Yeah.
the idea of like, look at like Bubbles, for example, with like just how massive he is. You could presumably find an actor who approximates
They
that.
didn't
Like,
get
if
Ving
you had,
Rhames in.
what's he like? I think maybe when he was still about. Oh god, who is it now? The guy who played like Kingpin
Is
in
it
the Daredevil movie.
uh something Clark, right?
Michael Clark Duncan.
Michael Clark Duncan.
You could have got
Yeah.
like a Michael Clark Duncan, but even then, in the animated version, his proportions are so exaggerated.
Yeah.
But that's to get across his character, right? Because
He's like
via
as wide
animation,
as the car is.
yeah, he's the human equivalent of that giant fucking alien hunting Stitch,
hmm
and he has like almost inhuman proportions. Like just the fact, like when Lilo is running about the island. She takes a picture of like the fucking tourist, right? Who looks like an alien.
Well, the tourist doesn't look like an alien. The problem is that like that's one of the little points where people are like that they really missed that joke. They really missed that point. Is like Lilo in the movie, and bear with me, I'm getting into the weeds. So, like, I'm a real big Lilo and Stitch fan, as people
He is
might
indeed,
be able to
yes.
tell. But like Lilo goes around and you see her taking pictures of people, but then she puts up pictures on her wall, and the entire wall is not filled with friends and family. She has one picture of her family, but every single other picture is like, here's a random fat American tourist being like weird
Disrespectful.
and disrespectful. And the point is that it's like meant to be Lilo is pissed off at all these American tourists coming to Hawaii, so she turns it on them and starts taking pictures of them as weirdos, just like they do to Hawaiian natives, and that's meant to be the point. And then the
And for
snow
anyone
cone
curious,
guy,
that's the thing.
yeah, yeah, it
Like
is.
that's a thing. Like they talk about like native Hawaiians are talked about. They'll just like going to school or something like that. And it's
Mhm.
like they'll have Americans come and take photos of them. I guess Hawaii, they are American, but like mainlanders will come in and take photos of them just going about their daily life and get annoyed when like, don't take a photo of me. I'm just at work. I'm not a fucking like
I'm not an attraction.
bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lilo is kind of putting a spin on that and doing the reverse and making fun of them. And then it's like, oh, the ice cream guy or snow cone guy in the trailer is like, you can change the ice cream to a snow cone, that's fine, whatever. It's the fact that she's taking a picture of like a
Snow cone.
Hawaiian native guy from the looks of it, and it's like that's missing the entire joke. And just if that's one element that they are missing, what other elements are they missing? And seemingly as well, like it I think Myrtle looks like a person who might also be a native Hawaiian, who is the girl who picks on her. And the point is, no, she's like a white red-headed girl that doesn't fit in, that is picking on Lilo. And again, that like pisses Lilo off. And it's just there's so many times where it's like there's
Also, as
a
well,
2
Lilo
minute
fucking
trailer
throws.
and I
She
can
throws some hands, right?
and that's another thing, the brutality doesn't seem there of like
She throws
Lilo and
hammer
Stitch.
fists. That's an illegal maneuver in UFC. And Lilo's throwing those little hammer fists at
Like
that little girl.
Lilo and Stitch were little savages that fit together, because Lilo is also like this outcast that literally, as you say, hammer fists a girl's face for disrespecting her. And it just, again, the disappointment with all of these Disney live action is that every single one of them, as a fan of Lilo and Stitch, I can break down elements like that, but I'm sure as a someone who's out there as like a massive fan of Snow White could break down little bits and pieces of a Snow White trailer, and it happens with all of them, where every single one of them is just worse and misses the point in a way.
Was there like a Cinderella one? There was a Cinderella one, right?
I don't know if that was a Disney one or whether that was
No,
a
it was
non-Disney
Beauty and
one.
the Beast, right? With Emma Watson.
Beauty and the Beast
Does anyone
happened.
talk? Does anyone talk about that? When I say Beauty and the Beast, do you think of the shit version with Emma Watson, or do you think of the original
People
animated version,
barely
which is
think of
still?
The Little Mermaid, right? And that was a year
Oh,
or
that
two
came out,
ago.
didn't it?
Yeah.
Let's think. No one talks about these things. No one talks about them.
And again, I want to emphasize that like the problems I've got with the Snow White movie are not like, oh, well, Rachel Zegler's in it and she's not white. It's like, I don't give a shit. It's like the point of the movie was that Maleficent, or the Evil Queen, whatever you want to call her, she's mad that Snow White's more beautiful than her. That can just be an attractive person. I don't care. And like,
Also, as well, like it being animated means that like Snow White is literally flawless.
mhm.
That's hard to get across in like live action, right? Because that's the benefit of animation is that you can exaggerate things. It can be slightly unrealistic.
Well, one of the funny
That's why you
things
have like
is
just
that I
Snow White having
saw.
perfect porcelain skin,
Well, yeah,
for example.
I saw being shared around the poster, and it's like it's one of those funniest things because again, it's that classic like Ben Shapiro type take where they don't seem to realize they're calling themselves out as incels that have never seen a woman, because
Oh, okay. Is
they
it the
zoomed
one of
in and
on her back, right? And she's got
she's got
like hair on
fair
her back.
hair on her back, and there are men are like, oh my god, they're gonna lose so much money because they've like missed the point of Snow White. She's got hair. This woman has hair. Did you know that? And everyone's like,
Yeah, all mammals do.
good job calling
Except for
yourself
dolphins.
out. You've never seen a woman up close.
It's the classic, right? Isn't it? When men online get mad about like women not wearing makeup, it's
Mhm.
always lying. It's like, oh, wait to say you've never had a girl stay the night.
Yeah.
Or like a girl wearing a bra, right? Or like a push-up bra or something like that. It's like, wait to say you've never been with a girl who took a bra off in front of you.
Yeah,
Like,
it's similar to
it's
like
self-report.
Aloy with the facial fuzz, right? Of people being,
Yeah.
Aloy's got a beard. It's like, oh, you've never been close to a woman's face before then. Got it.
Yep.
Oh,
The
dear.
self-report.
It is a self-report indeed. And going back to like the actual topic of Snow White, the animated movie, as I mentioned, it is from
Yes.
1937, and it is an American animated musical fantasy film produced by Walt Disney Productions and released by RKO Radio Pictures.
Yes, that'll be Howard Hughes. Let's go before he
Oh.
went fucking crazy.
And it is based on the 1812 German fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. The production was supervised by David Hand and directed by a team of sequence directors, including Percy Pierce, that's a hell of a name.
That is a
William
name, Percy
Cottrell.
Pierce.
Oh, Percy Pierce. It's spelt without a Y, so I thought it's Per.
I'm assuming it's Percy.
Maybe, yeah. Larry Murray, Wilfred Jackson, and Ben Sharpstein. It's the first animated feature film produced in the United States and the first cell animated feature film. Like, full
Well, that's
stop.
the thing as well. Like, it's the one that people need to appreciate when you go back and watch those early Disney movies. Is that every frame was hand drawn,
Yeah, and like,
which is ridiculous, right?
But each frame is hand drawn, and then each background is hand drawn and animated on multiple layers with like special technology that they've got to parallax scroll, like camera movement with like the special like rig that they had, right, and everything. And they obviously got more sophisticated past Snow White, but the fact that they had hand drawn backgrounds and like cells for every bit of animation over multiple layers, and they did that for an entire feature film.
Yep. And one of the things that made, because I wrote a fact-themed script on this years ago now, almost 10 years ago, is that Walt Disney kind of went insane making this movie. And everybody, including his own wife, was telling him, don't do it. Like his own wife, when he pitched it, of like, we're going to do a feature-length animated movie, his wife just went, do that. Nope.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. You're an idiot. Why would you do this? It's going to be like, it takes us months to make a 10-minute short, including the credits. How long do you think it's going to make, like, a 90-minute long movie?
And it ended up as 83 minutes, and it lists here, Karl, the reason why you would do it.
How much money did it make?
So budget, $1.5 million.
And I've got a number here. So to put into context, 1.5 million doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But keep in mind, that's 1930s money.
Yeah.
And the most they had ever spent on an animation was 200. Sorry. So I have a thing from the Fact Fiend article here. So the budget for the original budget was $250,000, which was itself 10 times what they'd ever spent on any other animation projects previously.
And then they spent 6 times that amount.
Yeah.
So 60 times what anything else had got for animation.
And Walt Disney had to beg, borrow, and steal every penny he could. He remortgaged his house. He sold his car. He went and just like begged his banker. I think he took like he screened it to his bank to prove that it was an idea worth funding. Yeah, like the original budget was 10 times more than they'd ever spent on anything before, and he went 6 times over. Crazy, right? But how much money did it make?
Well, then it lists here box office, and that must be like over time, you know.
Yep.
It does say that its international earnings were more than $8 million during its initial release.
But it kept getting re-released and re-released, right?
But
possibly the most re-released movie of all time.
It must be up there, yeah, because the box office, bear in mind, 8 million during initial release, it's listed the box office here as $418 million. And then it does say adjusted for inflation, It
like
is
$1
one of the
billion,
top
right?
10 performers at the North American box office and still is the highest grossing animated film with an adjusted gross of $2.297 billion worldwide.
Made several hundred times its budget back, which is insane, right?
Millions times its budget back. Well, no, sorry,
Nothing's ever been top.
thousands times its budget back. Apologies.
Yeah. But like I say, like Walt Disney went fucking insane, and everyone told him it was a stupid idea. Everyone told him like, this is never going to work. No one's going to like it. It's going to drive you insane. It nearly did. Like the animators nearly had a nervous breakdown. Nearly ran out of money. Had to sell his house, sell his car. Like his own wife threatened to leave him. But
and that's the thing.
Didn't it as well have a clean sweep at the Oscars as well?
We'll get to that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go down to like some of the awards in a second, but yeah, just this is the thing. Is obviously it sounds stupid, and a lot of the times when you hear people making these big, massive bets, most of the time it's an awful bet and it goes wrong. But every now and then, it becomes the best bet anyone has ever fucking made.
Just say sometimes, like Babe Ruth pointing to the stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
He points to the stands, and he get a fucking home run. Some people tried that after he did it, and they like eat shit or they like just spoon it. But yeah, it's something that was referred to by industry insiders while during the 3 years it was being made as Disney's folly.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what they thought when it made like 500 times its production budget back
but
in
like
5 years.
It made that back over like 80 years, right? But obviously, like either way, it was a massive success at the time. Set up Walt Disney to become Walt fucking Disney and set up the Disney company to have the legacy it does today.
Yeah, a legacy they are milking to this day by re-releasing the movie, but worse.
Yeah. And again, like, there's a lot of things that I can see that are like silly about this re-release. Again, none of the like go woke, go broke crowd. I don't agree with you here. Just I couldn't give a shit. I do agree that like whoever's in charge of Rachel Zegler could just tell her to like be a bit more quiet because she's not done the movie any favors in interviews. This could just be like get a paycheck, get some fame, and get some better movies out of it in the future. But
yeah,
I don't disagree with things that she's saying necessarily. I just think this is not the movie where you need to put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah. Like Gal Gadot is right there. She's going to attract all the controversy. Exactly, don't you worry about it.
And then there's people online that are now pitting like Rachel Zegler versus the evil queen of like.
What a great casting choice, right? Who do we get to play who do we get? Who in Hollywood will willingly play someone who tries to attack a child for looking different than they do?
Yeah.
Gal Gadot, let's go.
And like, again, the reason we're ragging on Gal Gadot, other than the fact that she's not the best actor, is just like she was part of the IDF and still stands for a lot of those things, right? And just get fucked. But it is one of those of I saw someone talking about like quotes that the actor who played the Beast from the Beauty and the Beast remake talking about how it's like this important role in the form of like how men are gonna see masculinity in the future and stuff. It's just shut up and take the paycheck. Just
it's like the thing if like, do you know, like when James Earl Jones got asked of like, so you sold like the likeness rights to your voice to Disney for Darth Vader? Why was that? And it's like, well, they reversed a dump truck full of money to my house and I wanted it. Like, I respect him for that. But when like you said, like the guy from the Beast, like this is gonna redefine what it means to be like redefine masculinity. It's like, no, it's not. No one's gonna talk about this movie in 4 months.
Mm-hmm. And
just tell people that you're doing it for the paycheck.
Like Dragon in the West mentions like Free Palestine, of course. Like that's something at least I agree with, and I hope Karl says the same thing too. But yeah,
it's like every time I see like anything to do with Palestine, it's the Palestinian people that are there like in the ruins of their homes trying to celebrate Ramadan, and whenever I see anything from like Israel, it's their soldiers throwing hand grenades over the fence.
And just. Yeah, like it's one of those we don't want to get into the weeds of things because we try to be just a light-hearted podcast here, but I would very least like to
hopefully people would know where we stand on
clarify issues. That much is that is our stance on things, but we don't want to get into like the nitty-gritty of stuff. But yeah, if you're
This isn't
curious
the
of where
place
we
for it, is
stand,
it?
then yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's neither the venue nor the correct place to do so. Like there are people out there who are much smarter than us.
Yeah.
Where like it's a much more suitable arena for that kind of conversation to happen.
But if anyone was worried about our stance on the subject, like 100% free Palestine, but yeah, like this is not the time or place to like get into the
We need to talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah,
Something
exactly. We
completely
try to be
pointless.
more goofy and silly here.
Hey, speaking of goofy and silly,
but yes,
Disney.
Disney.
Like, what is Goofy? Do you know this, Luke? What's Goofy? Is he a dog?
So it's a weird thing, right? Because Goofy is a dog that is sentient, that can talk, that is treated like a peer. But Pluto is a dog that is sentient, that can't talk, that is treated like a pet.
So he has to like eat off the fucking floor.
Yeah, but
what's that
Goofy
about?
and Max don't.
If you, so tell you what, sorry, since talking about Disney, have you got any like impressions you can do? Because everyone can do like yuck. Everyone can do that, right? Have you got like a Disney impression, or you got like a Pooh Bear, like an oh dear?
I guess the closest is like I can't do it right now because my throat's not great, but like
that's
like
good. Okay, that was good. Your second attempt was pretty good.
Again, my throat's not the best at the moment because like I keep going into work like every time, and like there's like 3 people in the staff room coughing, and I'm just like
doing Daffy Duck impressions.
No,
impressions. Sorry,
just with a cold or something. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be me in like 3 days, isn't it? Every time I go in of a weekend, I'm like, well, but yes, it is that weird thing with Goofy and Pluto. It's like, what's the difference? But why is one a dog and one not a dog? But they're both
maybe
dogs?
One just maybe he just like embraces animalistic side. Do you like Chewbacca? Have you ever seen that theory? Like, does anyone like do other Wookiees get dressed up? Is Chewbacca just hanging dong the entire time?
Well, I mean, in episode 3, I'm pretty sure they're all like pretty much just furry, right?
Yeah.
I was about to say you don't dress up dogs in clothes, but like I have many clothes for my dogs, so I'm not sure that's applicable anymore.
Yeah, like Chewbacca's like basically Han Solo's pet, right?
I do love that thing of like, what energy do you match? Are you like the anthropomorphic animal that fully dresses up? Do you do top only, no bottoms? No top, only bottoms? Or you just fully nude?
All day.
You just
it's like that's the thing you mentioned Donald Duck earlier. Do you like Donald Duck? I forget which region of the world it is. Some European country, I think, where they banned Donald Duck cartoons and comics because he's not wearing trousers.
No, Donald,
because he's wearing a sailor's uniform.
Donald's pants, no pants with shirt. But then
and because he's wearing like a sailor's uniform, there's like this is many years ago now, because when they actually gave a shit about like that sort of thing. But he's wearing military dress but no pants, so that's not respectful. So there's like separate versions that they made for those markets where Donald Duck's wearing pants.
But then it's weird, right? Because like you see cartoons where it's like, well, Tom and Jerry are naked, but then when they go to the beach, they wear beachwear.
Yeah.
Or they'll wear a towel to cover themselves up after the shower, and it's like,
yeah, they have, which means they have modesty. But they seemingly are okay with walking around naked.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, most Tom and Jerry cartoons take place in their own house, right? If you can't walk around naked in your own house, where can you walk around naked?
But it's not their house. They are guests. Well,
not with their pets.
No. Tom is not a pet, but Jerry... Tom is not a guest.
Jerry's an intruder.
Yeah, Jerry's an intruder, and Tom is living in his own house.
Jerry's the instigator.
Yeah. Normally, it's Jerry trying to just piss Tom off.
I still think they're one of the greatest like reaction images. It still cracks me up whenever I think about it. Is when like Jerry. Do you remember like Jerry had like that buff mouse cousin? For some reason, there's like the buff mouse. That's Jerry's cousin. And like he comes and he beats up Thomas. But then like to scare Thomas, Jerry just puffs up his chest so Tom thinks he's the buff mouse. So I don't know why randomly it was just like a buff mouse that knew Jerry.
Oh God. But yeah, it's weird going back to like Snow White that their answer for getting around the like, I don't know, the potential controversy. I don't know what the controversy would have been if they'd just got like dwarf people to pay dwarfs. Like they then in the new one have like been no, they're magical creatures that just look like humans, so that we can not hire little people. It's like, well,
I think it's similar to like Joe with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory
mm-hmm.
when they remade that, and they did get, I forget the name of the dude now, but he's like he is a like little person. I think he's like the world a record for like shortest actor. They got
the
him
one
up,
that
CGI'd him.
in like
But they also
CGI'd
CGI'd him
him
to make him
and
smaller than he is in real life.
yeah,
Even though he's like already really small.
I'll have a look up of the actor, Deep Roy.
Deep Roy, there we go. Yeah, so they got him, but CGI'd him to make 100 of him. But then you also, while there was CGI, and he made him smaller than he is in real life for some reason.
Yeah,
Is it something like that?
and I guess that just maybe Oompa Loompas are smaller than he's meant to be, but like,
Well, they're orange.
or meant to be smaller than he is. Sorry,
but in the books they're not, because in the books I think it's real bad when you read the original book and it's like, oh, they're described like pygmies.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
It's like, oh, does Willy Wonka just have slaves? A little bit, yeah. That's why they made him orange for the film.
Yeah, and then it's weirder because like in that reboot one, it's like, oh, don't worry, just Willy Wonka went to find a tribe of people that really like chocolate in the middle of a jungle, and then promised to pay them in chocolate if they'll all work forever for him.
If anything, the fact that they look like people that have been shrunken down with CGI makes the Oompa Loompas story way more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, just in the one from like the 40s or the 50s, I think it is, it's like, fuck it, paint him orange.
Yeah.
It's like the thing, but in regards to the Snow White thing, I think it was Peter Dinklage.
It was Peter Dinklage, yeah.
I think Peter Dinklage just spoke out about it. He went, I've tried my entire fucking career to argue for roles that aren't demeaning or stereotypical.
Mm-hmm.
Are you fucking kidding me that you're like now gonna have a movie with 7 of them? The biggest movie starring like
the biggest movie you could
like,
ever think of starring a dwarf. Like, it's in the name.
Yeah.
And you're not going to hire anyone as a dwarf. It's like, oh, God.
I think that was his issue with it.
Yeah, no, it was. It was like, why the fuck? We've literally got people who are ready to play this role and who've got careers established, and like, you're not willing to hire me as like fucking grumpy.
I'm not sure. I think his issue with it is that it would be offensive to hire.
No, I think he was saying that like he was pissed off that people were not. I tell you what, let's do some research.
Let's
on the
find
fly.
out, because all I heard is that Peter Dinklage is the reason that there's not dwarfs. So I'd assume that he was annoyed about it.
No, I think if I remember correctly, he called them out, and then they went, "Well, they're actually not dwarfs anymore. They're all little like
because they
magical creatures that aren't technically."
Did Disney do the thing where they preempted controversy?
I think
that does sound more accurate. They tried to preempt the controversy by not hiring like little people actors. Let me
look it up and we'll clarify. Okay, so I'm on the Guardian here, which it says that he took aim at what Disney did, what he calls fucking backwards, forthcoming live-action adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He accused the studio of double standards by attending to the racial diversity in its cast, but falling back on other damaging stereotypes. Says, quote, I was a little taken aback by the fact that they were proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White, but you're still telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Dinklage, who was a form of dwarfism known as glacier, continued saying Disney should have stepped back and reassessed the project. Says, you're progressive in one way, but you're still making the fucking backward story of Seven Dwarfs. Okay, what are you doing, Matt? I've done nothing to advance the cause. My soapbox, I guess I'm not loud enough.
So I think it's what I was saying of he's annoyed that they're still playing on the tired stereotypes of...
Okay, so, yeah, maybe you are right. And, like, he says that they could have had a cool progressive spin, been put on the fairy tale, he would have been all in. And then that's seemingly where I am getting confused of, like, he made that quote, and I think then they pivoted.
Yeah.
And
By not
was
hiring
like,
any actors
actually, they're
whatsoever.
not dwarfs, they're magical creatures. And that's where I'm getting confused in the quote. And then Disney having a rebuttal is that I thought it was that maybe he was upset that, like, hey, they've changed the role to, like, not fit with it, that casting. But yeah, it's I was just wrong on that one. And
Yeah, so
I think
his issue, as I understand it, is that, hey, like I said, his entire career has been trying to avoid, and like, for example, like, he absolutely refused to ever play like an elf or something in a Christmas movie, except for in Elf, where he gets to beat the fuck out of
well,
Will
yeah,
Ferrell to
that's
call him an elf.
the point, right? Is that in the movie Elf, yeah,
He just plays a guy.
Buddy sees a little person and goes, "Hey, you're an elf," and Peter Dinklage is like, "What the fuck are you on about? I'm just a writer. Piss off."
Yeah,
And then he
and
continues to call him an elf, so he beats the shit out of him.
then Disney's like, oh, he's fought so long, established like himself as a really well received, critically acclaimed actor. What's the one? Then Disney's like, do you know what we're gonna make? A movie from the fucking 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, as he says, like, they're patting themselves on the back for being progressive. It's like, but you're still gonna have a bunch of like little people running around dancing and chanting. How is that? That looks real fucking bad, Disney.
Yeah, because if you look at images of it, they still look like the Seven Dwarves, but like instead of doing anything about it, they've just gone, they're all magical creatures, don't worry about it, like to try and...
All they had to do is just do what they did in Infinity War and just cast a giant Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Where they made him ginormous.
Mm-hmm. So apologies about getting that wrong, but you know, we all live and learn and do as Sonic says. But yeah, just like it does make sense for that to be a stance, and I could understand the other stance that I was getting confused by of like, well, if you're gonna have these characters, why would you not at least cast the right people for them?
But if you're gonna change some
they've done
of the story,
both, right?
Yeah.
It's like they've continued to keep them small and not cast anyone that would like be appropriate for that. But then they've also got around calling them dwarfs by just saying they're magical creatures. And it's you're sitting so far on the fence that you're just pissing off everyone in that scenario.
You can see his argument as well, right? If like you're willing to change the race of the main character, if like, you know, as he aptly points out, like, and you pat yourself on the back for being progressive in that sense, but then you stop short of changing this offensive stereotype that I fought against my entire career.
But then their defense is built in of like, well, actually, we did change the characters. They're just magical people that happen to all be short, and it's like, okay.
It's like the thing of just another reason why you shouldn't remake it. It's like that's why you shouldn't never remake like The Wizard of Oz, because you're never going to get it to look like the original. Because one, you're not going to cover like 14-year-old girl in asbestos.
I was going to say,
make her smoke 80 cigarettes a day.
You can't get a kid high and force her to work 50 hours a day anymore. Like,
yeah, and you're also not going to skin.
Obviously, but...
You're also not going to skin 45 lions. Because yeah, fun fact: the Cowardly Lion's wearing like real lion skin.
It took that many lions though.
They skinned a couple of lions at least.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like that's the thing is the filming conditions were like absolutely terrible on set of that, and it looks in a very unique way. But man, the cost to the people on that movie was not worth making The Wizard of Oz.
Exactly. So there's no point remaking it. It's already perfect. It's one of my favourite movies. I love The Wizard of Oz.
But yeah, it does say going here to the legacy of the original film, Karl. Is that I imagine if you click in a few years, if we like try to make a Wiki Weekdays podcast topic, Snow White 2025, the legacy would just be left blank.
It's not have a legacy. It will have no lasting impact. Its lasting impact will be. But that's it. We don't even remember the story about why it was controversial.
No, exactly.
It didn't make a blip. But we still know about this movie 100 years later almost.
I think the only reason anyone's talking about this movie at all is not because necessarily that there's anything to be discussed. It's just that a lot of quote-unquote journalists know that if they keep making pieces about how the fact that X and Y is wrong with the casting or X and Y controversy, they'll get clicks. And it's not
Which
even
I feel bad
necessarily
for the
that they
actors at that
care
point.
about the topics, it's just that they know it will get clicks, right?
They get clicks, yeah. As I say, like Rachel Ziegler, I feel bad for her because all she's doing is just getting a fucking paycheck, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. And again, whoever the
And
fuck's dealing with her PR side of things, like, just tell her to be quiet because she's just shooting herself in the foot.
it's also as why it really, really does not. What's the word? I'm
And
trying to think. Like, it
again,
is. Oh, because I don't know what I'm saying now. It's a display of abject moral cowardice on Disney's part that they keep casting these young actresses in roles where they know they are setting them up to be harassed. Disney
yeah,
can talk all it wants about the fact that no, we don't do. It's like they know when they cast because they can't ignore that. That's the way
that the internet is right now, and the
discussions
world
of
is right
culture
now.
happen.
Yeah.
They can cast an actress and then just throw her to the fucking wolves
And
and
that's the thing is,
refuse to step in and tell the people being racist and stuff to cut that shit out because
again,
they know what they're doing. And
I'm not
that's it.
having a problem with the things that she is saying, or like ragging on her because of her race or because she's a woman or whatever. Like the quote of me saying like a woman should shut up is a bad look, but like I'm just saying that there should be
Not this movie,
people
love.
there to protect her and the person who was like cast as the Little Mermaid, for example, who also got a lot of hate and stuff. Just there should be people there to help protect them and help tell them to just like maybe take a step back and just take the paycheck and the film role and move on,
It's like not for this
because
movie, love.
it's not gonna be this like big role that is necessarily going to explode your career or anything, and it's also not going to be a role that like is remembered all that much as long as you don't make it one. It's just going to be good for you that you've got a starring role that you can point to that you got a lot of money for, and that's kind of all it needs to be. Again, like talking about like that Beauty and the Beast film where 10 years ago this guy was talking about like the importance of masculinity within the role of the Beast. It's like no one remembers that, no one cares.
It's also as well, dude, not this film.
Exactly,
It's like,
that's
not
the
this
point.
film.
It's not this film.
Yeah, it's like there's the alternate, the exact opposite. This would be like B movies back in the days. Red Letter Media. Whenever they're like watching an old B movie where you have like an actress take a top off and like they review like the worst possible movies, like their running gag is not for this movie. Don't take your top off for this B movie. This terrible B movie. Why that's not even good.
Well, the biggest one reminds me of kind of the actor for Daenerys Targaryen, so Emilia Clarke, right?
Yes.
And perfect example of like nobody really knows who they are. 2 shirtless scenes. Game of Thrones is going to be huge. You get bigger, not bigger than Game of Thrones necessarily, but big enough to be one of the main stars of Game of Thrones, and everyone knows you as Emilia Clarke, not person from Game of Thrones. Refuse to do the topless scenes anymore
Then you
because
start throwing
at
your
that
weight around,
point
right?
you can throw your weight around and you don't need the topless scenes anymore to get you where you're going. And yet, like, that's a great example there, I think, of the progression of whether she does topless scenes in each season or not, of just how much she realizes
Also
that's
for the
not as
show as well.
important anymore.
As the show got more popular, it didn't need to sell itself with sex and violence as much because people were invested in the story. It's the equivalent of like, just a dust jacket on a book, like the whole thing like don't judge a book by its cover. It's like, but the cover's interesting. And like, TNA got a lot of people in because there's a great documentary on the making and history of Baywatch where they talk about that. Where Baywatch had like a viewership of nearly 1 billion people when it was like at its apex. Yeah.
Billion?
It had like a viewing figures of 800 million worldwide every episode.
Fuck,
Yeah,
that's insane.
it was like one of the biggest shows on TV. And they have like Pamela Anderson come in and like David Hasselhoff. And it's like, so how much of it do you think was the fact that Pamela Anderson had like a cracking set of tits? And it's like, of course it was. But we thought we made a good show. but we're not gonna sit here and pretend that's not why people were tuning in.
There was one show that had people who were super hot running in slow motion in swimsuits on major television, and it was our show that garnered like fucking
And like every
hundreds,
actor and
millions of
actress on the
people.
show fully admits of course it's because like we're a bunch of good-looking people. That's why we got hired.
Like,
And he was one of the biggest shows on television. Like, and I like that they admit that. Right? They just stand there like, of course it was.
But, like, you'd be stupid.
Why did you hire Pamela Anderson? Look at her. Right?
Yeah, you'd be stupid to not like to try and pretend that was not part of the selling point. It's like
it's the honesty. I'm not saying like, hey, woohoo, they got like people with like big tits on the show. I mean, the honesty is something I really respect.
Yeah. And
like,
also,
them just being straight up about it.
I respect the other side of it, an actor just being like, hey, I'm hot, I'm gonna get paid to be hot on screen. It's the same with like when we talk about people doing like OnlyFans and stuff, right? Of just like, cool, you're hot, make your bag. I respect that so much. The confidence to be able to do that.
Yeah. And it's like there's a bit in Red Letter Media, again, where they talk about is where I forget which film it is because they've reviewed like hundreds of movies. But they talk about how there's just this movie where an actress turns up, she's like this seasoned B movie actress. And she, like to the point where just she turns up and you see her on camera go, and just take her top off. And they lose their shit of like because she knows why she's there.
Yeah.
But like you see on camera, she just shrugs.
And like as
and
long
they
as
left
it's
it in the take.
Being done above board and people are comfortable with it, like, yeah, sex sells. It's a natural thing that has been known for the longest amount of times, and it's one thing that was really surprising to me because it was popular but outside of my wheelhouse of like I can't remember whether it was just called Spartacus. I was about to say
Spartacus. Yeah, people were hanging dong all the time.
Spartacus, there was just nudity fucking everywhere, and I was like,
it was Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. Like the only reason that show didn't get as big as it did is because the main actor died between seasons, and it just lost all momentum.
Shit. Because I was wondering, I was like, the amount of nudity in that show, I'm surprised that it didn't become more popular.
It was set to be. It would have been Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones, but like I said, main actor died between seasons. That's to dramatically change the scope, and just the person they brought in was not as compelling an actor as that guy. It's a shame because I said that show was massive, and it just had TNA all over the joint. And it's great.
That's the thing is, I know that show was huge, but I'm surprised it never reached even huger horizons, and that explains some of why. Because yeah, just when I saw clips of it and was like, oh, there's just nudity everywhere.
Just people, just like I said, hanging dong all day.
Yeah.
And I've got no qualms with something if they want to say that's why they're doing it.
Yeah.
My issue, like to bring it back to the Disney thing, is if Disney said we're making this to just keep hold on to the rights.
Mm.
Likewise, if they said, well, why did you cast like a woman of color to play Snow White? It's like we want clicks in newspapers. You know that's why they did it. Disney will never admit that's why they've done it.
And but it's hard to know where like the line falls, right? Because I can't imagine that the people who were in corporate positions at Disney and like sending their notes down to casting decisions actually give that much of a shit about like diversity and such, other than the fact
they don't. They care
about the money, and they care about diversity because that's something they should care about right now that might make them money. And
yeah,
regardless of the reason why they think diversity in casting will make money, I think it's always just about the money.
It's always about the money, yeah. And that's, I say, it's a absolute like abject moral cowardice on behalf of the entire company that they'll make that decision and then they won't protect the person they hire. They'll throw them to the wolves, as they've done many, many times before.
But anyway, that is just attaching on the fact that I mentioned Legacy. So we'll go back to it and just end on Legacy here of the movie. And following the film's release, a number of Snow White themed merchandise was sold. That's
would you believe it? Disney merchandise.
But I guess this might have been one of the first ones who like make a point out of that, right? It's because nowadays that's what you do.
Have you seen like the Minecraft movie merchandise? And it looks like a parody. Because they've got like it's a Jack Black figure, and just the way I've seen it, so I was like, no kid wants to play with the middle-aged fat fuck figure.
Have they?
It's just
I
Jack
guess
Black with a pickaxe.
I was
and a
gonna
crusade.
say
No one's buying that for their kids.
because in the movie they haven't made Steve blocky, so I presume it's not even a blocky version of Jack Black.
It's just Jack Black. It's like no one's buying that,
Yeah.
right? Would you buy that if you were a
If it
kid?
was Jack Black being interpreted as blocky Steve from Minecraft, I might be interested.
But it's just Jack Black, and it's like, why would I buy that figure?
But anyway, Karl, the film's
Yes.
merchandise generated sales of $8 million, equivalent to over $100 million adjusted for inflation. Bear in mind, this is like, what, 80 years ago or something, 85 years ago?
It's wild, 'cause that's probably what they've spent on marketing this one.
90 years ago?
About that, yeah.
Close to, yeah, 85 to 90 years ago. But the film's intellectual property has been franchised across a diverse range of mediums, including a Broadway musical, video games, and theme park rides. And
which is wild to think, right? Because as you said, it's based on a story from like 200-300 years ago that is in the public domain.
yeah, and it does mention the public domain date of Snow White. We'll get to in a
Let
second.
me guess, last year.
That's not what Wiki says.
Okay, I'm gonna guess it's soon now.
Relatively, yes. But it is weird that, yeah, as you say, Disney as a company, not just with Snow White, Walt Disney and the Disney Corporation jumped on a bunch of public domain Grimm's Tales, made them family friendly, animated them, and then copyrighted and trademarked it to shit and tried to keep it out of public domain for as long as possible for anybody else. And it's like,
Yep.
apart from Mickey Mouse, basically your entire legacy is built on your
Other
adaptations of someone else's work.
The one that will never cease to make me pissed off is Fa Mulan, which is a fucking myth from Chinese history. You
Yeah.
don't own that, Disney.
Mhm.
That's fucking Chinese history. Or what's the other one now? Like Hercules, which is Greek myth.
Yeah.
It's like literally thousands of years old. They claim to own elements of that, not all of it, but elements of it.
They claim the elements they changed, right? So, like,
Yeah, that's how they get
with
away with it.
Mulan, they changed the elements of, like, well, hey, we added Mushu, therefore having, like, a magical dragon be the companion and, like, the little cricket and things like that. Like, there are bits and pieces that they can have as their own and, like, the music and stuff like that.
But they're like trying to claim that they own this literal piece of history. It's like, fuck you.
Mm. But yeah, Snow White's success led to Disney moving ahead with more feature film productions. Walt Disney used much of the profits from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs to finance a new $4.5 million studio in Burbank, the location on which the Walt Disney Studios is located to this day.
That's where his head's buried, right?
Sorry?
That's where his head's going to be buried, right?
Well, apparently. I mean,
It's got to be.
that's such a weird, pervasive myth.
It's great. I still like the conspiracy theory that they call Frozen, so that when you Google Disney Frozen, it doesn't bring up that
I love that
myth.
one. Yeah, so it doesn't bring up the conspiracy theory that Walt Disney's head was frozen, is that they named it Frozen just so that they could cover up the fact that Walt Disney's been frozen this entire time. It's like, oh.
Yep. But that's closely followed
beautiful.
by my second favourite conspiracy theory, which is JFK wasn't shot, his head just did that. Just his head exploded and they don't know how to deal with it.
And obviously, I'm sure that people are like, Mitch, well, Futurama did the whole cryogenically frozen head thing. Like, that's where it comes from.
Yeah, it's based on that, yeah.
Yeah. That's the entire joke, is it's based on the fact that he apparently, Walt Disney preserved his head by being cryogenically frozen so that when they had the technology to bring his head back to life that they could.
It's also like Mr. House in Fallout New Vegas. That's another one.
Mm-hmm. But that's all based on like Howard AI Hughes stuff, right?
Yeah, he's that, and he's partially inspired by Howard Hughes, but then also the frozen body is a Disney thing.
But yeah, there is still like a big giant like rain or something down below.
Well, his body's still alive, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, it says within 2 years, the studio completed both Pinocchio and Fantasia and had begun production on features such as Dumbo, Bambi, Alice in Wonderland, and Peter Pan. And
what a fucking run. what, like 7 years, and they had those movies in production already. It's like fucking hell.
Like literally within a few years, because it says like from the profits of Snow White, they built that studio, and within 2 years they'd done 2 movies and had 4 more in production. So yeah, that's just
Impressive.
7 movies at least being worked on within like the 2-3 years that like Snow White had been released, and then construction time of the studio, and then the release of all those movies and such, and just
You got to remember as well, back
single...
then you could like beat your workers as well.
There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of shit that probably went down, but the fact that like, yeah, just those are arguably at least 5 movies that are still talked about to this day. Like Fantasia, probably just because it got that re-release and additions on it and such in 2000. I don't necessarily know how much Fantasia would have held the test of time without Fantasia 2000, but at very least, we know that people still talk about those 5 other original films as well as Snow White.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mentioned Pinocchio, right?
Pinocchio, Dumbo and Bambi.
Dumby the elephant.
Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan. And yeah, there's still films that are getting adaptations to this day that are talked about to this day, but the film's copyright was renewed in 1965, and as a published work from 1937, it will enter the public domain, in at least American public domain, on January 1st, 2033. So they currently have argued it up to like 96 years of copyright.
That's why I look forward to that never happening.
So it's strange, because I wonder what the difference is between Snow White. Maybe it's because the copyright was renewed in 65, but
with a re-release.
Pinocchio,
there's a reason why Disney re-releases stuff.
Pinocchio and Dumbo have at least had like plenty of remakes made now, because they entered the public domain a couple of years ago. Same with like Winnie the Pooh. So I'm wondering what Snow White's difference is to be earlier than them, but not yet in public domain when they are.
Disney can only assassinate so many people a year to keep them in the public domain.
And that's the thing, is like, Disney has done an excellent corporate job of keeping these things the fuck locked down and making sure that like Disney has ruined public domain for many, many years.
Oh yeah, it's great.
They've extended the public domain to just keep Mickey Mouse out of it as much as possible and tighten the rules and restrictions on it, which is like why Mickey Mouse isn't in the public domain yet, but Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse version is, with like specifically without the hat and such like this, and it
there's an entire arm of Disney that does nothing but this.
Mm-hmm.
Like similar to how like there's futurists who've talked about like, yeah, like obviously I can't tell you who it is, I'm NDA'd out of the balls, but there are billionaires who brought me in to like tell them how they could theoretically pay their staff in an apocalypse. And like they're asking like, how would I pay my staff if like there's a nuclear war and we went to an underground bunker and money's no longer a thing? And like the futurists just report like, yeah, billionaires don't like it when I say you couldn't, your staff would probably shoot you. And they get so upset by the idea that they can't have power in this theoretical end time. Similar to like Disney, where they have an entire arm of their business that's exclusively dedicated to, we keep our hands on this forever. Whatever legal loopholes you can find to make that happen, unlimited money gets thrown at them.
Well, it's kind of similar to like the idea that, well, weird that all of a sudden Elon Musk is hanging around with his child all day, every day, and holding him like.
It's not his child, Lucas. It's his bullet shield.
His bullet shield.
Like Elon Musk, as a gamer, he's body flanking.
Oh god, he's equipped double shields again, Karl. What we meant to do?
He's done it. He's like that Batman villain who just like salutates babies to him. He's like, "Nah, you can't knock me over." Now what? Right? Fuck you.
Talking about favorite conspiracy theories, that might be my new favorite one.
I like the one that like Elon Musk's dick doesn't work.
Oh, because he's really funny to revert to IVF.
He has IVF, yeah.
I just think he's got no riz. He's got money, but no riz.
Never forget Elon Musk had to pay a woman off because he offered her sex and she said no, and then he offered her a horse and she said no, and then she sued him for 100 grand. Imagine being so bad at talking to women. She just says, "Now you got to give me 100 grand." You've got negative rates. Give me 100 grand. There's also another one, because I've been playing like Cyberpunk 'cause it was on sale, and in that game, Grimes is a voice of a character. And wait a minute. Didn't Elon Musk have a really cringy tweet a few years ago or something where it's like, "Oh, this is what my nightstand looks like," and it's like 15 cans of Diet Coke and a gun from Cyberpunk. And it's like, I think it might have been Grimes' gun.
Oh shit! Okay.
He's like a gun. I think it's either a gun from Cyberpunk or a gun from like some sci-fi project. It's like it probably wasn't even his gun. It's probably his wife got it for appearing in that project. So he's got like his wife's gun.
Oh god! Never stop being funny.
I just imagine he goes on stage and like the drone comes down carrying like one of his 14 babies. Like, do you like Point Blank? Is it Point Blank where you got to shoot like the targets?
Oh yeah.
That's what the assassin's gonna be like, right, when they try and take him out.
It's like just every kid that hasn't disowned him yet gets flanked onto the stage in defense.
Yeah, it's like it'll be like Time Crisis, right, where the people running like, "Don't shoot, don't shoot."
Oh god.
That's what he's gonna do with his kids. Like, it's not even a theory. That's just what he's doing.
Yeah. I wonder why that's why he's having so many of them. Is that I've got to be able to replace them in time.
Well, the other theory is that there's another one. It's like John Legend, I think. Is it John Legend who's had like 50 kids? Nick Cannon, maybe. There's like some singer who's had like a shit ton of kids. And there's like a theory that he's having so many kids, he has a kidney condition. And he just wants to maximize his chances of having a spare. And it's like, oh no.
And to clarify, like, if anyone somehow is misinterpreting this, like, we're not we're not saying it's okay for children to be shot or used as kidney replacements.
But it's just very convenient that when people are like, "Hey, this dude fucking sucks," someone like, where's like say that little Luigi signal?
Yeah, like when someone was putting out that Luigi signal of like maybe more billionaires should be shot, all of a sudden Elon Musk's children just appeared out of nowhere.
Starts walking around with kids. He's never like the speaking of, like conspiracy theories that I buy. There was like this dude who was in the army or the Air Force, something who looked exactly like Prince Harry.
Right.
Like he was like one of those things. Like, oh, it's a funny thing. Like he looks kind of like Prince Harry.
Mm-hmm.
But then he kept talking like, I keep getting sent to the same places as Prince Harry.
Oh no!
So there was like a theory that did the government send him to places so like they could try and lure people away from trying to assassinate Prince Harry?
Yeah, like if they were gonna kidnap someone, they might accidentally kidnap that guy or something instead, or aim at him. Yeah.
Like I say, it's gonna like Point Blank. Just babies flying down everywhere, and you got to get him.
Just all the imposter Prince Harry's running. That's like some Star Wars shit with like the Keira Knightley being like the Queen Amidala. That's not real.
Yeah, and I still love how like in costume their own parents couldn't tell them apart. Fucking wild, right?
But they were in a costume.
Yeah, but like when it was Natalie Portman and Keira Knightley, right? When they were in the costume of like Amidala and
that's it.
Whoever.
Amidala and Amidala's essentially bodyguard.
Clone, yeah.
Double, yeah.
When they're in full costume, the parents couldn't tell them apart.
That means it's a good costume, not that their parents are dumb. It's like, if it was, their parents couldn't tell them apart without the costume, I might start getting concerned about the parents.
Yeah. Forget the other one now. It was, is it Chad Smith, the drummer from Red Hot Chili's? And who looks like almost exactly like Will Ferrell.
Looks a lot like Will Ferrell to the point where like they even had the drum off on one of those late night talk shows, and it's like
I just love the story from Will Ferrell though, where Chad Smith's talking about it, where he always got told that he's like, that dude's a fucking goofball. I'm a rock star. Fuck you. And he talks about one time I was at like an event and he was there, and I got really annoyed. So I just stood there and went, he does look a lot like me. And he probably just stood there in the corner with a beer going, man, he really does look like me. And just Will Ferrell walked past him, looked him up and down, and went, you're a very handsome man, and walked off. And it's like, fuck, he's also really nice.
I like to think that Will Ferrell just got a little bit of his drumming talent, and vice versa. Chad Smith stole a little bit of his comedic talent.
Is that why his movies stopped being funny?
Oh,
Must have been, right?
They just, I mean, he's still fine.
He's fine.
Just like clearly he's older and super successful, so has to give it a bit less of a shit nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? If I was a multi-millionaire with a very established career, I'd probably like take one foot off the pedal. You know what I mean?
I'll probably phone it in a little bit, right?
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of phone it in, Karl, I need to go to the toilet and take a break.
No problem.
So I guess quickly.
Need the Himalayan possum. Himalayan.
No, you can't spring that on me. You could have prepped me in advance.
Nip goes up. Let's go.
Nip goes up, of course. We'll be back in a minute for me to like tease something fun that I'm gonna be doing in the future.
Perfect. I will wait here. Perfect.
Taking off for the break, but yes, we are back now and be on to Stian Heroes again.
So I believe you've got one thing to promote for our housekeeping, Lucas Nyar.
Well, before that, Karl,
yes,
I grabbed a little like thing to keep me warm, and I've been tempted. You know, over time, been tempted to just do a bit of fuckery and see what happens if I bring this in.
Okay.
Because I have like a blanket on me right now, and I'm just wondering what happened.
If it's a green screen blanket.
I'm just wondering what happened. I can't see what's happening right now, but I really hope it's just green screen.
So, Luke, Joey talks about like Disney holding on to its copyright really aggressively. You are this close. Not to infringing on copyright, because you've already done that. You are this close to catching some hands in real life if you keep nicking my gimmick. I've been a nice guy about it up until now. Look, a man can only be pushed so far.
It's the amount of times I've been tempted to like just start a video and not say anything and just be wearing it around me and just be a little flowy in the head.
Why does it please you so much to steal my things?
Because
can I not have something for myself?
Because it just winds you up that little bit.
It does, just a little bit.
That's just that thing known as banter, everything.
It is.
It's like if I knew that Karl really gave a shit, I wouldn't do it. The fact it winds him up just a little bit.
I still have the original green screen. It just sits under my fucking stairs. I don't give a fuck. Like, do you want to know where every like fact theme video is? Every single one in existence. It's in here. It's in a box that I use to put my mic on. This is like every hard drive that has every fact theme video and stuff on that. I don't give a fuck.
But, you know, just for anyone curious, like, why I have a random green screen blanket cape thing, it's actually, like, the little Attack on Titan cape. But just...
To be fair, like, disappearing into the distance, what Levi does when he wears it, right? Bro just fucking... That's still one of my favourite bits in, like, Attack on Titan, is where, like, the Beast Titan... It's like, okay, so there's anyone I should look out for? It's like, well... There's a dude. You'll be able to spot him because his animation budget's higher than everybody else's. But you might think you're that guy. Spoilers, you're not that guy. He's that guy.
Yeah.
Don't mess with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they will sacrifice an entire army to give him 1 second of chance.
Literally, like their entire army, the entire like portion of scouts is like, it's Levi's turn now.
The thing is, how does that make you feel? Like, if you were one of the random dudes who's got to sacrifice himself, it's like, is he really worth like all 1,000 of us? It's like, yeah. Next question. It's not even like question. It's like, yes, he is. Next question. It's like Elon Musk in it when he's like, he tells to his little son, he's like, Papa, if I get shot, is that yes? Yeah. Next question.
The thing is, though, I can appreciate it because the guy who's saying it is like, yeah, including me.
Yeah.
I've got no qualms about this, including myself. We ain't worth shit.
It's like, well, when that army's running in there 2 frames a second and they see Levi like whip you through the air, like, oh, that's why.
Oh, Yeah, it wasn't specifically bought to fuck with Karl. It just so happens. But anyway, yes, I did tease a little thing before the break that I wanted to mention, and that was I don't exactly have like schedules planned for it, but I just like reached a moment where I saw someone else do it. And was like, fuck it, I can do that.
Yeah, like you're not above stealing my gimmicks, so why not steal someone else's, right?
Why not steal someone else's? And it was that I saw somebody streaming a game, Fuser. And Fuser is not a very well known game. It's a game made by Harmonix, who made like Rock Band. And it's like basically a music mixing game. And I was like, well, of course I'm never going to stream that because you're going to get copyright shot to shit. Like, it's
Yeah.
second one. And I never thought about even the concept of trying it. And I saw that somebody else has been streaming it for a while at Folly. So, like, shout out to, like, Nikki Grayson, who's on Giant Bomb, who I just saw, like, on Blue Sky post, like, hey, I'm streaming Fuser. I was like, wait, can you get around that? Can you get away with it? So, I just thought that when I'm not working on a Friday or Saturday or whatever, and Karl happens to be streaming Metal Gear Rising, that every now and then, before Karl does Revengeance streams, if I'm free, I want to just be like, use that as an excuse to just play that game for like
DJ set.
A little DJ set to just get people hype for Karl streams. So
if you're gonna do that though, you've got to make a background. If you're gonna use it, you've got to get a background for that.
Well, I'm only gonna be like little green screen person in the corner. It's mainly gonna be the video game playing.
Yeah, but you need to like play the part. You need to get like flashing lights in the background.
Maybe I can think about
smoke machine.
Yeah, some effects going on, but yes, I just figured that like
top, like a big pair of like shutter shades.
Maybe I can start incorporating that into it to fit the theme more. But yeah, I just figured like why not be Karl's little just hype man when I can, and just do like a little DJ set before he goes and plays Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Why the fuck not? Go for it.
So again, because Karl and I both play a bit fast and loose with our streaming schedules, and I also have work that's beyond my control schedule wise, like it will just be a play by ear each weekend kind of situation. But just follow me over on my Twitch. You can find a link in description. Also
our Discord, we announce
paying attention to our Discord, we'll announce things on there as well. And yeah, I just figured like why not just try and just bring both together and be like, fuck it. Let's be like the Revengeance hype stream.
Why not? I think we always try and like work together when we can. It's just that streaming schedules are so all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least mine are. If like, what I mean is like they're combined.
Well, and again, like mine is just generally because like I now have to incorporate trying to work around a schedule I have no control over as well.
Yes, like we do tend to avoid streaming at the same time to avoid stepping on each other's toes.
But yeah, I just thought that might be a fun thing to tease. So again, just like pay attention to like the Wiki Weekends Discord or follow me on Twitch and whatnot, and I'm sure you'll get notified of that. But I thought that would be a fun thing to just tease. I've been modding in many songs to the game because like it got taken down within years of coming out, and you can't buy.
Of course, like we've talked about copyright, right? Of just one of the worst things about like what is it, Rock Band, which like you still have, and you refuse to let it go because hey, you've got like what 800-900 songs on Rock Band.
At least like 600 plus, yeah. And it's one of those things I was like, hey, I've already bought Fuser on my Xbox. I really love that game, but it's been taken off the store. You can't buy any DLC. Fuck it. Let's just download the PC version, mod it, see if it runs on my PC, okay? And it seems to be absolutely fine, able to stream it. And, I've added, like, fucking Live and Learn on there. I've got, like, High School Musical songs. We're going full out.
That's the thing as well, like, because our Patreon, one of our goals is to launch a gaming channel and do in-person recordings. And one of the things I would love to do if we were able to combine both of those things at some theoretical point in the future would be to bust out Rock Band again.
Yes, yeah. So, but yeah.
And like do requests, like that'd be a great gimmick for like a one-off stream. I feel like you on drums, me on guitar, live on camera in a room, and just take requests from the audience and try and play them.
And we'll just put them like real far away so that not only you can like not hear the plastic instruments much, but you can't hear Karl and I singing very much either.
Yes, but like we'll do like the Jamiroquai, and every time we get like a donation, we'll get a little bit closer. Either way, you can check out our Patreon if you want to see like how close we are to that goal and help us reach it at some point. But hell yeah.
Yeah, indeed you do. And yeah, just thank you everyone for your support, and I'll just like this video while we're live. You can leave the super chats while we're live to tell us what you think about Snow White and the remake or the classic or Disney remakes in general, but also Carl's topic that is about to come up just in a moment, which is what, Carl?
Well, I thought just a quick one, because we tend to run a bit long on the initial conversation. So
yeah,
the person who goes second generally picks like a shorter topic. So the topic I brought forward for discussion today is Quibi. And Lucas, are you familiar with Quibi?
So I'm fairly certain I remember the word Quibi. I think it was from the conversation of like when we talked about that juice machine.
Juicero.
Okay, yeah. So like I think you may have mentioned Quibi as long as like the Juicero as like, these weird failed projects that kind of went nowhere.
Yes, but otherwise got millions and millions in investment. So one of the beauties of Wiki Weekends and Wiki Weekdays as a format is that if, like Lucas, folks at home, you are not all too familiar with the topic at hand, Wikipedia has got our back. So Quibi was, it's not a thing anymore, an American short-form streaming platform that generated content for viewing on mobile devices like your phone. Sorry, not like your phone, only like your phone. Because you could only watch Quibi on your phone.
Look,
you couldn't watch it on your TV.
Everyone.
Yeah, that was Stitch.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't watch it on your iPad. You could only watch it on your phone via the dedicated app. It was founded in Los Angeles in August 2018 as New TV by Jeffrey Katzenberg, one of the former heads of Walt Disney Studios.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. I knew the name. I was like, Katzenberg rings a bell, but like, did they go straight from Disney to Quibi?
No, he's just like an angel investor who's a fucking idiot. Like, he's one of those people where like you look at his like thing like, oh, why did he get like shit canned from Disney? He has shit ideas constantly.
Yeah. Fair.
And as evidence, like what evidence do you have that he has just constantly has shit ideas? He founded Quibi.
Isn't Katzenberg one of the people that like the person who founded DreamWorks fucking hated?
May have been.
May have been.
I know, like, he's a billionaire, so you know he's a prick.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I vaguely remember the name Katzenberg, and it may have been like maybe chat can help us out. It may have been that like the person who founded DreamWorks had a disagreement with Katzenberg.
No, he founded DreamWorks. He's the one who founded
DreamWorks. I thought it was something to do with that story. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just noted piece of shit, Jeffrey Katzenberg. And it was led by Meg Whitman as CEO, who is an American business executive, diplomat, and politician. Because there's nothing like wrong with a politician serving on as the CEO of a fucking massive business, right?
Ex-Disney, ex-DreamWorks person collaborating with fucking politician. What could go wrong?
On her page, it doesn't say was, it says is.
Oh, is. Oh.
Absolutely no like conflict of interest there. Yeah. It launched on April 2020, but shut down. So, Lucas, how long do you think this lasted? April 2020, start of the pandemic.
I was going to say, at very least, it could have lasted a couple of years based off the fact they had a lot of people just stuck at home watching random streaming services, right?
It completely shut down in December of 2020.
Oh my god!
It didn't last 8 months. In January 2021, so less than a month after it shut down, Quibi's content library was sold in its entirety to Roku for less than $100 million.
That's still a lot of money to make off a year's worth of streaming service.
Well, it isn't, Lucas, because the service raised $1.75 billion from investors.
That's a bit of a lot.
So they raised $1.75 billion from investors. It lasted 8 months, got shit canned, and then it got sold in its entirety for less than 10% of that.
Right, look, I don't know who's out there who's invested in businesses. Probably not many people nowadays because it's 2025, not 2020. But I can tell you, if you come to me and say, what's one of your ideas, is going to cost less than $1.7 billion, and it's not going to lose you $1.6 billion, I might lose you I might lose you like 100 grand. I have an idea.
Here's the
of
thing,
goal.
right? Like in this case, Jeffrey Katzenberg and all his like rich friends would have literally been better off if they piled $1.5 billion into a pile and set it on fire. They would have been better off if they just set $1.5 billion on fire, right?
Yeah.
They could have taken $1,000 and ate it every day for 50 years and
That's
lost
the
less
thing.
money.
It's like, that's what me is. Me saying I can guarantee that you won't lose more than $100,000 out of my idea sounds bad. But then when you think that someone managed to destroy $1.6 billion worth of value in less than a year.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, it started at 1.7, sold for 100 mil. Where's that 1.6 billion gone in less than a year?
Well, it just up and disappeared like a fart in the wind. But history, pre-launch. So Quibi was founded in August of 2018 as New TV by Jeffrey Katzenberg and was led by Meg Whitman as CEO. In October 2018, New TV was renamed to Quibi. The service targeted a younger demographic with content delivered in 10-minute episodes called Quick Bites. Hence the name Quibi. Quick Bites.
You know that it's bad when you've almost immediately had to change your brand name.
Also, as well, it's one of the things where, on paper, the idea is actually, it has merits. Because 2018, that's where Vine was at its apex, right? Vine was fucking huge, right?
Vine was still around in 2018.
Maybe it was coming on the tail end of Vine. Vine was so popular and so successful, Facebook bought it just to kill it.
Well, I was going to say,
rather than compete with it.
Vine was not a failure story. Vine was just so successful that Facebook wanted to murder it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, Vine was a victim of its own success. Vine got shut down and said Facebook bought it to kill it because they couldn't compete with it. And then a couple of years later, you had Byte, which was founded by the people who made Vine. And that's another funny story because have you heard of Byte? Did you sign up for Byte?
I remember hearing of Byte.
Do you know how that failed?
No.
This is a really great story. So this thing, so that was founded by one of the guys who made Vine.
Mm-hmm.
And despite having all of the experience and all of the retrospective knowledge of what made Vine successful, when they launched Byte, they didn't tell any of the former big creators that it was going to be a thing. They also didn't save any names. They allowed it was just first come first served. So instantly it got taken up by people who just sat on names like Logan Paul.
Oh.
People might not know. Logan Paul got big on Vine. That's where he started. And look how big he is now.
Wait, were the Paul brothers not something to do with Disney?
That he was on Vine. Yeah. He might have been on something to do with Disney, but yeah, he got famous off of Vine.
I wasn't much of a massive Disney Channel head. My little sister was, so I could kind of caught some of the things like High School Musical and stuff. But for some reason in my brain, the Paul brothers were associated with Disney Channel.
I believe he also Vine, and just there was countless other creators, and for some inexplicable reason, the people making Byte didn't think to invite those people to its platform and reserve their handles for them. And when some of the bigger Vine creators tried to jump, Byte's a thing, it's made by Vine, and they said, people are holding our names hostage, can we have those? Byte told them to do one.
It seems like a really good idea to piss off all of your potential biggest content creators within seconds, right?
And that shuttered within a year, and then TikTok came in its wake, and TikTok's massive. So the idea of a platform dedicated solely to short form content does have value, and evidently does, because TikTok's the website now, right? It's worth hundreds of billions.
Even every other social media is trying to become more like TikTok with Insta Reels and Facebook stories, etc., etc. And TikTok initially started out as 30 seconds or minute long videos, but has pivoted to having content up to 10 minutes long.
Yeah, and you can live stream on there. And the only reason TikTok didn't get bought out like Vine did is because it's owned by China, and there's no fucking way Facebook can buy that. As hard as they tried to the point where they try to get the government to shut it down, right?
Yeah, I think it's like
and they still
what
couldn't.
Tencent or NetEase or something like got stakes in TikTok, so you
It's
ain't
like,
getting that shit.
I'm sorry, Mark Zuckerberg, you're not competing with China money. But in 2018, Quibi raised $1 billion in funding from major Hollywood film studios, TV companies, telecommunication companies, technology companies, banks, and other investors, including but not limited to. So just like keep in mind, Hollywood film studios, TV companies, telecommunication conglomerates, technology companies, banks, and single investors, including the Walt Disney Company, 21st Century Fox, NBC Universal, Sony Pictures, Warner Media, Viacom, RTL Group, Fremantle Media, E1, Lionsgate, MGM, Madron Capital, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Alibaba Group, Liberty Global, and ITV. So now think, Lucas, that is what every company on earth, between them, they probably control like what?
That's a
I'm going to say
lot.
90%.
There's a
At the very
lot.
least, entertainment.
Mhm.
Western entertainment probably goes through one of the 90%, if not more. Western entertainment goes through one of those companies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 100%.
They also, like so, and it still failed
Again,
because. Okay, Lucas, how would you think? How would you fuck up something like this?
well, I don't really
What
know.
do you think would fuck up an idea that had already proven to be successful, had $1 billion plus of funding, and had the backing of every studio and network in America?
The only thing I can think of off like a quick, analysis of something that I don't really know anything about is the idea of maybe like ridiculous fees to go on the platform or something like that, or really like tight restrictions on content that can go on there, maybe.
Well, here's the thing: it wasn't user submitted content. It was all of these media companies would
Oh,
produce
yeah.
shows for it.
No, that's what I mean. Like, maybe they were either not wanting to pay much to get good content onto the platform, or they were
No, they did.
charging other
Billion.
people a lot of money to go on the platform, or they were restricting the people from just putting, because as you say, it's short-term content, so maybe like, hey, you can't just put like Friends or The Office onto this platform, it's not going to happen.
No, like they had, as I said, backing and support from every major studio and network in the country, and they had a absolute shit ton of original content being made for it, including like content people wanted to see, like Reno 911. Like they brought that back from the fucking dead. One of like the most
But
like well-regarded sitcoms that never really got its dues.
I was
They
more
brought it back
thinking
like 11 years after the fact.
how much old content was on there, because
Not a lot.
because how many people go to Netflix to just rewatch comfort shows? Like
And
The
they didn't
Office
have that.
US is like constantly the biggest thing that's ever watched on there, right? And Friends and stuff.
Yeah, but
Seinfeld.
you're in the wrong ballpark here.
Okay, I have
So
not really got much of a clue then.
okay, well, easiest thing in the world. They charged for the app. You had to
Wait,
pay for the app.
the app itself.
The app itself.
So it's not a
Because, and here's the
free
thing,
app with subscription, it's a paid app.
it's a paid. So here's like what made this thing fucking die in the crib, and it was that they were trying to, because obviously when they pitched it to networks, they were thinking, oh, this is going to be Netflix. It's not Netflix, because Netflix has the benefit you can watch Netflix on your phone, but you can also watch it on your laptop, you can watch it on your TV. But they pitched it to all these companies as it's going to be Netflix that exclusively works on your phone. And their idea was 10-minute episodes of shows so you can watch it on your morning commute. The problem is that if you've got 10 minutes, you are not going to pay money to go onto an app to watch a 10-minute show when you can just scroll on Facebook for 10 minutes or go on YouTube and just watch a 10-minute video on there for free.
And I also don't know, at least speaking from my own personal experience, this may be like less of a thing over in America, but when I commute on a train, half the time I can't get a signal anyway.
Exactly. And you also couldn't download episodes to watch later. Well, Lucas, in 2020, Quibi presented. In 2019, Quibi announced it would be launched on April 20th, or April of 2020, with 2 pricing tiers.
Is one of
There
them
was no
free?
There was no free version offered. Launch Quibi launched on April 6th, 2020, was made available in the United States and Canada. An ad-free US version was made available in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
So they had an ad-free, an ad-free US version in the United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, and Germany. TechCrunch reported that Quibi saw 300,000 downloads and was the number 3 download in the App Store on its launch day. So not bad.
Pretty good.
Quibi fell out of it's a top 3 day of launch. Within the space of a few weeks, Quibi had fell out of the list of the top 50 most downloaded free iPhone apps in the United States a week after release. Also, a week after release. So within a week, it was already number 50. By early May, so less than a month after launch, it was ranked 125th.
There's a lot of things that become successful by smartly being a slow burn, but they're not products that you put $1.7 billion into.
Exactly. And Katzenberg acknowledged the performance was not, and I quote, close to what we wanted, stating, I attribute everything that has gone wrong to the coronavirus.
Of course.
And it's like, admittedly, it did play a part because they pitched it as an app you would watch on your phone on your commute, and people weren't commuting.
Not many.
You probably could have maybe pivoted, and like, how many people spend way too much time on TikTok? Like, I remember my ex would spend 2 hours at night. That was look at phone time. 2 straight hours of just scrolling through TikTok every night.
You can't call me out like that.
But like I say, they could have done something, but the problem is that they were like, nah, they refused to pivot because they had already like just gone in on this idea, and you can't tell a venture capitalist like Tech Bro that they're stupid or their idea won't work. They just keep charging ahead. So moves were made to adjust the service to allow users to share content on social media platforms and to watch shows on televisions in addition to their phone. So that wasn't an option when it first launched. So,
which, again, at the time of conception, seems like less foolish of an idea than launching that during COVID times, right?
Yes, but also the fact that they created a slew of unique original content. They didn't give users the ability to share that content on social media.
I mean, that's a problem.
So even if like the shows the content they're making was good, users had no ability to tell people about that fact.
It's like, I think about something like TikTok, for example. It's like, yeah, most of the time I get sent a TikTok link, it's just a link to the TikTok app, but it didn't necessarily stop you. Like, at least when I joined TikTok, it already had a full feature, like, tool to, like, download video and embed that onto, say, Twitter, and then it would just put up the username on TikTok at the end and show you the TikTok logo, right?
Yep. It's just a really, like, elegant way of just getting... Because that's the thing, TikTok were happy with that. And it's like Netflix in its early days where they're not too much okay with it now, but back in the early days, they were perfectly fine with people sharing passwords, for example.
I mean, middle days, right? Because obviously Netflix began with like DVD rentals and stuff, and was like love.
But they were also fine in those early days. Yeah, they were also fine in those early days with power users, and in fact, would promote stories about power users using their service to watch, for example, dozens and dozens of movies in a month, because the customer thinks they're getting a good deal, but it costs Netflix the same amount. Like, if you watch Netflix, if you watch 100 movies in a row, if you watch one, the difference in what you're costing Netflix there is it's a dot on a spreadsheet.
I remember back in the day being a Love Film subscriber, which was Netflix, but it was called Love Film over in the UK.
Yeah.
Same concept, DVD rentals, blah blah blah, but they did game rentals as well. And I would pay, I think it was about £8 a month at the time, and I would have the 3-game rental subscription, and it would just be like, by the time I have worried about sending 2 of the games off, get new games, I was playing the 3rd game.
Yep.
So it would just be a constant rotation of like, well, if I rent 2 or 3 games at a time, depending on my subscription, as long as I'm not using 1 game at a time, I never have downtime, so I'm always playing a new game.
So you always feel like you're getting value out of the service, right?
And I was paying pennies on the pound to like play 10 games a month for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. Like, that feels like a good value deal to you, the customer, right? And I'm
Mm.
sure like the Netflix is fine with that. The best example of like someone not understanding this is when Blockbuster were desperately trying to compete with Netflix. And Blockbuster is one of those fascinating like examples of Blockbuster could have killed Netflix. They could have easily used their waning industry clout to smother Netflix and just dominate the market. And they did try when Netflix started to eat into their profits. The idea of, well, the one thing that Netflix has that it, it the one thing Netflix doesn't have that we do is a location on every street corner that millions of Americans go to with clockwork regularity every single week. And they did try to do something similar to Netflix, where it'd be rent a movie from our service
Mm.
and then bring it back in. The problem is that you physically had to go into a Blockbuster store to return it.
So
And
you didn't have an option to like mail it back or anything.
yeah. And that was, and no matter how many times people told Blockbuster, hey, the benefit of Netflix is not it's that you can just pop it in the post whenever you want. It's completely up to the customer when they do that. It's handy that they can go pick it up from a Blockbuster store if they want to, but the benefit you can offer is that you can give them the choice. So they can go into a Blockbuster, pick up any movie they want and walk out with it, and then just chuck it into their post box the following day. They
And
don't
also,
have to come into your store.
like the Blockbuster was close to me over here, but like they would give you a set amount of days you could have it, and even though you could drop it on the outside of the store, they had a little like post box you could slide it through, even if they weren't open or anything. That part was convenient enough, but they would limit me to the amount of days. Whereas, again, Love Film,
Netflix
like
never did.
a couple of people mentioned GameFly in chat, it's the equivalent. But when I say Love Film was Netflix, like
It was
the company that owned Netflix that owned Love Film. They just branded it differently in the UK.
yeah. But in regards to Blockbuster, when they kept talking to executives and stuff, when they'd give interviews, seemingly couldn't get it through their head that people didn't like the experience of going into Blockbuster. They tolerated it. And whenever they tried to adjust their practices to match Netflix, just they couldn't move on from the fact that, well, people want to come into Blockbuster. I said, no, they don't want to come in. It's because they had no choice in the past. Now they do.
It was
now
the
they
most
have a choice.
convenient that we had, but
And now it's
that
not.
there's more convenient options, people don't want to go into the store anymore.
But like Blockbuster execs could not get it through their head that people didn't like going into Blockbuster. They every time they try to do something, they just made the worst possible mistake. For example, when they launched an app that would allow people to watch movies, but you couldn't stream it because Blockbuster, like, well, we're Blockbuster, we're known for quality. So to watch a movie with our app, you have to download it first. And you can't watch it while it's downloading, you can't watch it while it's buffering. You don't have a choice. You have to download it first.
It has to download at full quality for you to watch it at full quality.
And like again, they could not see the value because they went, well, no, you want the quality, right? They didn't realize like people won't mind watching something if it dips to 720p if they can press a button and it starts playing instantly. That's the thing that they're paying for, not the fact that it's in good quality.
And again,
it's incredible.
It's like decisions on convenience rather than anything else. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those of just, if they gave me the option, for example, in Blockbuster, of like, hey, Blockbuster's down the road, and you can have the game for as many days as you want, and instantly come down the road and replace it. That would have been great, because I don't know how many days I'm going to be playing game for, but when Blockbuster's like, pay for this game 3, 5, or 7 days at a time, and I go, I don't know how long I'm going to want or need to play this game for.
Blockbuster absolutely refused to remove late fees.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how many times people got told, like, hey, late fees, that was fine when you were the only game in town. Now you're not. Netflix doesn't charge late fees. If I want to keep that Simpsons movie on DVD for 6 fucking months, I can do that.
Yeah.
The only punishment I will get is I can't rent another movie until I give that movie back.
And I would have been totally fine with going into the store for that. if it were
Yeah.
that experience, because then I didn't have to wait days on end for a new game to get, posted to
Yeah.
Netflix and then come back and a new game get replaced. Like, but the fact that I couldn't have the option of I might spend a day with this game or a month with this game was the entire reason I swapped.
Yes, and one of the things that Blockbuster did when they were told, "Hey, get rid of fucking late fees. It's killing your business." They didn't remove late fees, but what they did is they helpfully would charge people who had a movie a restocking fee.
Right.
So if you happen to go over the allotted amount of time you're allowed to have a movie, they didn't charge you a late fee. What Blockbuster would do is assume that, well, you must like that movie so much, that game so much, that you want to buy it from us. So what we're going to do very helpfully is we're going to charge your Blockbuster account for the full retail price of that product as it was selling in our store. And if you want to get that money back, you can come into our store at any time and give us the game back, the DVD back, and we'll refund your account. But we will charge you a restocking fee. It's not a late fee, it's a restocking fee. And would you like to guess how well that went when people randomly found themselves being charged like 30, 40 fucking dollars because they didn't return like a game the day after?
It didn't have like a
It charged
limit
you
on
instantly.
it.
Just the day that the instant like you went over the amount, you'd get charged the full amount because they assumed you wanted to buy it. Yeah. The other thing that they did is there's a great interview with someone from Blockbuster from the time when they're being asked about their competitor to Netflix. It's like, so the benefit of Netflix is that you can watch it anywhere and on any device. They packaged their app exclusively with Motorola phones. So that sucks. It's like, what are you doing to counter that? And the guy from Blockbuster goes, well, we've got this thing. It's called the Get It button. And it was like, what does this button do? Does it download faster? No, but it says Get It. As in, you get the movie now. So does that mean I can watch the movie instantly? No. You've still got to wait for it to download. But when you press the Get It button, you can be assured that you're getting the best quality possible because people trust Blockbuster. And you could just tell like the guys like, you have never spoken to a person ever.
Like, please interact. Like, this is where I totally side on the idea of having things like focus groups, right? It's like, speak to the customer, speak to the people consuming your product and services. Like, dear God, what are you on?
They just like, it's one of the hilarious things about like this with Quibi are these like investment firms and these tech bros who just seem completely unable to parse how actual human beings will interact with the products, and they will plow ahead and push billions and spend all this money, and then the most blatant and obvious flaw will come up second one when the actual public gets their hands on it. Like the Quibi thing, right? Of, oh, cool, this thing's quite decent. Can I watch it on my laptop now?
And
okay, can I share it? Can I save it now?
It's just over and over again. Is proven with services that, like, generally speaking, the majority of people will deal with a worse product with convenience. Like, they'll pick convenience over a better product nearly every time.
That's the thing with Netflix, right? Of what Blockbuster tried to do is, well, we're going to offer the quality. So, yeah, people like the fact that they can just press a button on their phone or on their laptop or their Xbox or their Wii, and it will instantly start playing like The Office. But we think they would much rather have to download it on their phone and then transfer it from their phone to another device and then put that device into their TV to watch one episode of The Office.
And look, there is enough of a crowd out there that 4K, like, Ultra HD Blu-ray collector's edition boxes do exist for a lot of high budget movies.
That's not the mass market though, and that's not the market they were chasing.
No.
It's not the market they were trying to.
There is that niche you can lean into enough where like there are cinephiles out there that you can cater to have a thing, but that's not most people.
Yeah, I remember it was like there was some shitty music streaming service that tried to do this and it died on its ass instantly. Where they tried to like, well, this is the app for audio files where you download it in the highest quality possible. And it's, oh, so is it lossless then? No. So what do you mean it's not lossless? Well, no, it's like like most things can be like what 128 kilobytes, whatever. It's like it's higher than that, like what a standard MP3 would be. But like actual audio files, like so it's not lossless. No. Do you know what is? And like it got to the point where like one song on this high quality like format that was proprietary, I think, so you can only listen to it on their sort of thing.
Right.
One song cost you as much as a second-hand copy of the CD from which you could just rip the lossless audio.
And presumably that means like
That,
you mean like the cost of like an entire album with like 10 songs
yes.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could just rip the entire album in lossless quality.
And again,
Yeah.
like there's the argument of well, CD isn't lossless quality, but still it's
But it was still higher quality than what this streaming service was offering.
exactly.
But either way,
yeah.
Quibi, in early August, a ad-free or free ad-supported version of the service was released in Australia and New Zealand, and the price of the ad-free version was reduced. So they reduced the price like a couple of months afterwards. According to reports from the Wall Street Journal and Recode in September 2020, the platform was looking for a potential acquirer with other possibilities, such as raising more funds or becoming a public company. Backing into a shell corporation. This is 3 months after it launched. They were already looking to sell it.
Look, like I respect the grift. I know that most products are made to sell them or go public. That's the goal of most things that exist in life. But man, like you shout out a ton of money, lost it all, and then within months are like, maybe someone else will invest.
Yep. Like we put $1 billion into it and we're already willing to throw in the towel. Maybe you want it. It's like, do you want this hot potato? It's like, no, I don't want the hot. But look, it's so hot, the potato. But don't you want to catch it? No, I don't. Fuck you. Hold on to your own potato, dipshit. So shutdown in October 21st of 2020, just 6 months after Quibi's launch, the Wall Street Journal reported that the streaming service was shutting down. Later that same day, this news was confirmed by both Katzenberg and Whitman. Katzenberg told Deadline Hollywood, and I quote, "There was no question that keeping us going was not going to have a different outcome. It was just going to spend a whole lot more money without any value to show for it. It's out of respect for the people that have put up this extraordinary amount of capital to do it. That's irresponsible, and we both felt we shouldn't do it." In the same interview, Katzenberg also cited the unfortunate timing of the launch during the pandemic. At the time of the announcement, Quibi had an approximate 500,000 subscribers, way lower than the 7.5 million they predicted to have by the year end.
And yeah, like obviously COVID did contribute a bit to that, but you can't just blame it all on that.
You can't. Also, it was a shit idea. So content. Like Lucas, you might be wondering, well, what content did Quibi have? Because it did have a lot. So Quibi spent over $1 billion commissioning original content in its first year, totaling 8,500 individual piece of content.
That sounds like a lot, but what was the content?
Well, that included over 175 shows. Unlike many streaming video platforms, Quibi's content was made specifically for mobile devices and could be viewed either in the 16:9 horizontal aspect ratio or the 9:16 vertical frame. And this is the thing that's actually interesting because you might just think it was made like TikTok, but specifically you could watch it on your phone. And shows were filmed in such a way where you could watch it in both and still get full quality. But also some shows like Reno 911 made jokes with it where they put stuff out of frame. So during the show you could turn it, which makes the fact they didn't allow you to stream it to your TV so much more baffling. You might think, well, maybe they didn't want to put it on TVs because it looked shit, because it'd just be like two massive black bars. Every show, every single piece of content on their platform could be streamed in 16:9. Every single thing, and they didn't let you watch it on your TV.
I think people can see me starting to get like really visibly stressed by this.
Well, that's the thing. Think about like because they were like, no, it's for your phones. But don't you want to give people the option? Maybe like, if they're watching it, they can like stream it to their TV and their friends can watch it. Do you know like people do YouTube videos at parties or whatever? Or maybe they can like, watch an episode on their laptop when they're like some people might be on a train on their laptop. Like, no, only on your phone.
But they were still making it for horizontal content at the same time.
If they'd only just made it vertical, one thing. The fact that everything by design had to be filmed in both formats, which raised the cost inordinately. Because now people filming it had to film in 2 aspect ratios, or be
Well,
aware that it'd be viewed in 2.
they at very least had to account for 2 and edit it into 2 ratios, right?
Which, like, no, literally doubled the cost on the production of every single show.
Yeah.
And they still wouldn't let people watch it on traditional devices like TVs, laptops, tablets, or what have you. Instead of half-hour TV episodes or 2-hour films, content on Quibi was delivered in episodes of 10 minutes or less. Quibi commissioned significant news programming in addition to its entertainment lineup, but found that the news shows attracted minimal interest. And that's the shame, 'cause a 10-minute news program.
That would be so much better than like, hey, do you want 24-hour news cycle? No. Just give it to me in like 5-10 minutes, please. I can't spend 24 hours a day stressing about how shit the world is.
And here's the thing as well, because like people were interested in getting onto like Quibi, including Reed Dutchner, the former manager of the YouTuber Mr. Beast, said that his company Night Media had attempted to bring Mr. Beast content to the platform, but Quibi rejected the proposal. So they had one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet offering to make content for them for free. And they told them no, because Lucas, he's a YouTuber.
Yeah. Fast forward.
This was made by... It's like, no, this is like TV studios, man. This is movie studios. We don't want a YouTuber on our platform. This is real entertainment made by real creatives.
Literally 5 years later, Amazon will be paying out the absolute fucking ass for Mr. Beast to do the game show they did.
Yep. And an example of some of the things they made is there's a thing called like it's like Yas Queen, and it was Reese Witherspoon, I think, commenting over footage of female animals, like B-roll of female animals, just saying like generic female empowering platitudes.
Which,
then they paid her approximately like $500,000 to film 20 episodes of that.
Obviously, voiceover over animals could seemingly work. Seems like they didn't do it very well.
There was also, I think it's there's a show about
heard about that one. Maybe because it was so bad, but
there was another one where it was an actress who has a golden hand and she's obsessed with her golden hand, and that's it. And they paid the actress like, it feels like it's a massive. Like when you hear about people ripping off the business, like the producers, like we're going to intentionally put on a shit product to try and get the insurance money,
or right? Like fucking what was it? Spotify that paid Harry and Meghan like $50 million to start up a podcast, and they did one episode and bailed out.
The funniest thing about that is, like, I remember, I still think one day, Lucas, me and you need to like do some excerpts from like Prince Harry's like biography. It's where like Prince Harry's like, yeah, I'm at boarding school and be there like tickling my todge, and it's like, fuck off, I don't care.
Like the new show where it's like Meghan, and it's
they did like one podcast right and fucked off. They got paid $50 million for it.
Now she's got a new show on. I think it might be Netflix, and it's like, oh, here's me making bath salts for my guest in my fake house that I'm going to take to my real house that's way bigger than my fake house really is. And it's
like, the funniest one of them is like the Hawk Tour girl, where she did the rug pull for like her Hawk Tour coin.
Yeah, the crypto pull.
While she was, did you ever listen to like the Twitter Spaces she did?
I listened to a couple of clips of her Hawk Tour podcast.
No, not the podcast where like she did that, like she just scammed people out like $20 million and did a rug pull with like a fake meme coin. During the Spaces where it's like people are like, okay, so can you tell us like what the fuck is going on? I'm a bit tired and go to bed. And just went to sleep and just logged off for like 3 weeks. And just didn't do anything and got away with it.
Well, that's the thing, there's so much shit going on every day that like the internet's gonna forget in a month, right? Like
do you know what?
Kind of respect her to be like, fuck it. I got famous off a meme. I scammed the internet out of $20 million and said I was going to bed.
Like, do you know, like when you said earlier, like there should be a PR person who tells them like, just shut up. People will forget about it in 3 weeks. She must have like the most on point like PR person ever, because the PR person probably said, okay, what did you do? It's like, well, I did a rug pull with a crypto coin. Okay, so you ripped off idiots. No one gives a fuck. Mm-hmm. They're going to be loud and annoyed about it, but don't worry, there'll be that Assassin's Creed game comes out soon, there's a black person in it, they'll be pissed off with that soon.
Yeah.
Just don't even apologize. Just go to bed.
Just walk
Just
away.
go to bed. Give me your phone. I'll put your phone over here. Go to bed. No, don't worry about it.
You're a millionaire.
She
Don't
did.
worry. Have a nice nap.
Just go for a nap. Like, she actually says on the call of like, you know what, guys, I've talked enough about this. I'm going to sleep.
As much as I would not be the person to do it, I kind of got to respect the energy of like, look, I know I scammed you all. I'm going to bed.
Well, that was the thing that people pointed out. I was like, you swapped American dollars for blowjob coins, right? What did you fucking expect? Right? Like, she's got like an app as well. There's like a dating app where it's just like a reskinned AI that just tells you, like, I think,
Tells you that you just got to give it that hot turn.
Well, who was it? There's some YouTuber, like, they went onto the app and they got it to plan a date for them because it's just a reskin AI. And while they're talking about it, they're like, yeah, midway through, because this thing cost them $5, and yeah, randomly it just started giving me soccer tips. And I don't know why the Hawk Tour app gives me soccer tips, and it turns out that it's a reskinned app that just must have bought the rights to her likeness from her, and she don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm. Man, the thing is, I get frustrated with this endlessly, but at the same time, I've got to respect her just going, look, I've got my 50 minutes of fame. I've got to rinse this for all it's worth, rather than the people that are like 20 years later going, hey, remember me from that meme?
And it's like, and who's she ripping off? Idiots.
Yeah.
It's like, it's that thing that a fool and their money is easily passed. Like, if someone got genuinely scammed, I'd feel bad. But when it is some like right-wing shit stirrer who just bought the blowjob coin to own the libs, and like, wait, no, it's not worth anything anymore. It's like, yeah, why the fuck not?
And look, part of me does feel sorry that it's like, yes, she did get that money from scamming people, but I kind of, on the other hand, I've got to sit there and go, but what else was she gonna do? Because no one gave a shit. She saw her opportunity and she fucking took it.
Only an idiot would do that, right? It's like, so if you come up to me, Luke, I've got a business proposition for you, Karl. It's like, yeah. It's like, okay. Do you know that girl who was like famous in a TikTok for making blowjob noises? I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, she's making a new currency. I think we should swap all of our British pounds for Hawk Tour coin.
Well, I know there's some money in the coffers, but I've got a good idea.
It's just a fool when their money easily parted, right? It's like the thing about, I don't feel bad for any of these massive investment firms that invested in Quibi. When if they would have brought in one human being from the street and asked them, would you pay for this service? They go, fuck no.
I especially feel less sorry for like the people that saw the Hot Tour coin and went
and bought
it.
Well,
yeah. 300 other YouTubers and influencers have been caught out doing a rug pull for this. But I'm sure the Hawk Tour girl's the one with the integrity.
I can trust her. Like, she knows what to do with my dick. She'll know what to do with my coin. Let's go. Right? It's so stupid.
Speaking of coin, Dragon in the West with a lovely super chat here, just saying insert confused Jackie Chan meme here. And
there we go. Look at that.
I think
that swap in your American dollars for Wiki Weekends fun box. Let's go.
You know what? Maybe I can insert confused Jackie Chan while you continue, Karl.
You probably can, yeah. Well, there's not much more to say about Quibi besides the fact that it shut down and Roku bought their entire library for 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
And just like that, everyone involved got paid, except for the idiots who invested in it. And I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for any rich dickhead who just, like the Juicero thing, right?
Yeah.
Like 300 million investment. And if at any point during that process they got one human being in to ask them, would you use this item? They go, no.
Yeah, exactly right.
So there was like a coffee machine. It was like it got like 200 million in investment, and it was like, oh, it's going to be a quality, the equivalent of getting like it's the highest quality coffee you could possibly get. It costs 15 fucking grand. So okay, that's a lot of money, but people care about the coffee.
Honestly, I'd hope that
it's a
that's the
subscription
best
service.
quality coffee that I can get, right?
They made it a subscription service that only worked with the beans that they sold, and the company shut it in 6 months. And people got lumbered with a 15 grand coffee machine that wouldn't make coffee. It's like, the fuck did you expect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's similar to that Juicero thing, right? That you talked about, of like the juicer, but you specifically had to buy like the Juicero juicer bags that got less juice per dollar out of juice than just buying fruit and a juicer.
I could just buy an orange and just throw it against my wall. Right? If the thing you're selling can't top me just like squeezing my hands together, right? You said convenience.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing about like the convenience of that Juicero thing of like, okay, is it more convenient? Well, once I've bought it, that's it, right? So, well, no, then you got to sign up to our subscription service. Okay. But once I've got the thing in my house, it's there. No, it's got to be used in 5 days. Okay. But once I have that, the juice is there. No, because then you have to buy new ones. Well, recycling is the recycling. No, you got to take it to a certain store that we've got to deal with to recycle it. Oh, well, when I do that, they'll give me another one, right? Or they'll refill. No, you've got to get it sent in the mail. What about if I'm not in? Well, if you're not in, that's like... Do you know what it reminds me of? I've got one story to tell, and this is probably one of the... Speaking of the pandemic,
during
the pandemic, I lived in a flat. Remember my flat, Lucas? Nice little flat, like 3 or 4 stories tall. Not the biggest building. Nice enough area.
Yeah.
Right? During the pandemic... there was this company called Modern Milkman. I'm not sure if they're still going. They might. If they are, fair play, because they're fucking shit. They put a letter through our door of like, hey, we're a company called Modern Milkman. And me and my ex at the time, we looked at it and went, you know what? We can't leave the house. And also, it's kind of quaint to have milk delivered. And one of the things they offered is we can milk, in addition to milk, also other essentials, eggs, orange juice. They even did milkshake. They even did iced coffee. You know what? I might sign up for this because the idea of like, and you could even pick every day, every 2 days, every 3 days, once a week.
Mm-hmm.
You could post date it, and it costs like a couple of quid more than buying milk for yourself.
Well,
you know what? I might do that. I walked outside the next day to like go for a jog, and I shit you not, it was just loaves of bread on the floor next to milk on the floor. Not on like on the floor with a piece of scrap paper with the house number written on it in the sun. Outside the flat in a row. And I came back after my jog and 3 of those loaves of bread had been like the rats had got them.
But Karl, they're both free, fuss free and flexible and delivered by 7:30 a.m.
Is this company still going?
It looks like it, yeah. You can right now get a free £15 Milk Hut for new customers when you spend £10 limited time.
So I would not recommend this service. Like I said, and I think it was about 2 weeks straight. Every day I'd go outside, and there'd just be a loaf of bread or like pints of milk outside in the sun, like outside. And I think it was like after 2 weeks, our building just stopped them from coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, if you go downstairs to get your delivery of milk and it's like the rat's been in it already, or you go get your bread, you're not taking that, are you? You're going to call the company and say, fucking get rid of it. But the delivery people didn't want to take it with them. So they left it outside. So by the end of the week, there was like 25 loaves of bread just outside our house that had started to go stale, and the rats were getting in them. And I was like, at that point of, why Amazon? They give their delivery driver a key, and he can walk in and he can put your delivery package outside your door. And seemingly, that company didn't think to get their delivery driver a key, and they just left the loaf said outside on the ground. Would you pick up a loaf of bread, Lucas, that was on the ground?
They get Amazon drivers a key? That doesn't seem safe.
Yeah, Amazon drivers, they have like a fob. That guy, most building companies give drivers fobs. That just like
a real bad idea when it's a company like Amazon.
Well, it only gets them access to the building, not the house. It just means they can enter the property.
That just gives me the idea to like be an Amazon delivery driver for like a week and then steal off with a bunch of fobs so I can get into places.
Well, if you wanted to, like postmen have them as well.
Well, yeah, but obviously, like there's a bit more of an employment process with going joining the Royal Mail, right?
But either way, like, yeah, they give it to postmen, they give it to like emergency service personnel, and like Amazon delivery drivers just have the ability to get into your house. And I just found it so hilarious. Like, I just remember going out the first time, and just the fact that a loaf of bread on the floor, not even in a box or a little bag, just on the floor.
I
And
guess.
Lucas, you're thinking, was this loaf of bread in a bag? It wasn't in a bag. It was just on the ground.
At least, Karl, they're not making things more complicated, right? They're keeping it nice and simple. Don't even package the bread.
The thing on it said, delivered to your door. That's not my door.
It's a door in your building.
No, you said to your door, not a door.
No, that's your door, technically.
I remember speaking to my neighbour about that when I asked them, I was like, yeah, we spent like 3 weeks trying to get our money back because they were like, well, you got the food. It's like, no, the rats got it. It's like, can you send us a picture? And they sent like, here's like the 14 loaves of bread you just left outside on the grass.
I absolutely love it when a delivery service is like, can you send us a picture to prove that you didn't get the thing? What's the picture gonna be? The pictures of what, the front of my house with nothing in it?
I think the best one is depending on when you order something, like when they take a picture of you holding it. I like that one. Have you ever seen that one? It was like the guy who was like, "Oh yeah, this is how my girlfriend found out I was inviting my mates around for like to watch the game," and it's just like the pizza delivery guy and it's his girlfriend holding like 6 pizzas, looking really confused. Or the one of like, "Oh, we left your package with a trusted family member," and it's just a dog looking at it.
My favorite one is like the TikTok that went around of people just doing like the joke of, oh, when the delivery driver asks you to like take a picture of you, and you like pose for the picture. And it's like, no, I want the picture of the product, not of you fucking idiot.
Well, I think the best way is like the person who got into like almost a fist fight. Like you can see the screenshot of the conversation of getting into a fist fight with the delivery driver. They're like, okay, which house number is it? It's like 17, for example. Okay, I'm down in your parking place. Come get it. It's like, well, you call DoorDash, not parking place dash, bring it to my fucking front door. And the person just like, they said the picture of the person just leaving it outside their door. And it's like, and then they ask for a tip. It's like, I'm not going to give you a tip for leaving it outside. It's called DoorDash.
Yeah. And
come to my door, damn it.
I will say, just while we're having the discussion of like, delivery drivers, anyone that is involved with you purchasing things, like for example me, when I'm like serving people in a restaurant, just do not comment on what the person is ordering, please and thank you. Like, when someone comes to your door and it's like, I've ordered like 3 bottles of cider or something to have on like a night of gaming with you playing like some Marvel Rivals or something over the weekend. Yeah. Oh, you're having a party, are you? Like, now you just made me feel bad.
I think the best one of those is it's the girl who's like, it's the screenshot on Twitter of like, I've never felt so attacked, where she sent a guy she was chatting to a screenshot of her background or something, and she's got the McDonald's app on like the dock, and just the guy's like, oh, McDonald's app on the dock, just a big and greedy, are we? And it's just, it's like so good. Just big and greedy.
I had one the other day where it was like, I can't remember, like, I was buying some type of chicken, and they were like, oh, big fan of this chicken, are you? I was like, well, what do you want me to... I'm buying it. Of course I am. Like, what do you want me to say?
Oh, it was worse because a couple of weeks back when I was doing dry January, I was in the shops getting like bread and milk, and they had like this beer on sale for like £1. I went, well, I'm not going to drink it, but £1 for 4 beers is like a ridiculous deal. Like, that's not going to come up again. That's like its end of like line stock. So I got like 5, but I realised when I was putting it on the line, it's like 1 loaf of bread, 5 crates of beer, and I went, oh, this is 11 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. This does not look good.
But at the end of the day, just leave people to it, right? It's like, when I serve a person and realise that like they're ordering 3 meals, but they're the only person on the table, I don't say anything, right? Like, I don't make a joke of, oh, hungry are we, or something like that. It's just leave people to their own decisions and don't make them feel bad about it.
Big and greedy.
If you
Let's
want to
go.
make conversation, make a regular conversation of like, I hope you're having a nice day. You don't need to comment on what people are purchasing, please.
It says that classic joke, isn't there, about it? Of a guy goes into a pub, says, "Can I get 3 pints, please?" Bartender's like, okay, pulls the 3 pints, puts them in front of him, and the guy sits on his own, takes a sip out of 1 pint, sip out of the second pint, sip out the third pint, and just sits there for about an hour till he's done. Orders 3 more pints. Does this 2 more times in the evening, then leaves. Following week comes back in, does the same thing. 3 pints, please. Again, 1 pint, second pint, third pint, until all 3 are done. After like the second time he's done this, someone gets the courage. Like, so why are you doing that? He goes, oh, it does look silly, but I've got 2 brothers, and we've agreed that whenever we order a pint, we'll order it like this, so we can always be sure we're drinking for the other person. And it's like, oh, that's quite nice. And the guy becomes a regular. It's a thing. A couple of regulars know, like a couple of people aren't regulars notice it, but after a while, it's just the way it happens. Then one time, guy comes in, 2 pints, please. Pub falls silent. Gets the 2 pints put in front of him, and finally the barman comes up to him and says, "I'm sorry to hear about your loss." He goes, "Oh no. I give up drinking, but my brothers haven't."
Like,
Jokes your dad used to tell. Yeah. The thing is, though, that's a Shaggy Dog story. That could have gone on for so much longer. I could have dragged that out for like 20 minutes.
And thank you for keeping it brief, Carl, but I think that's a good place to end it there. Just Carl told a joke to just shut the stream down.
Oh, have you ever heard the original Shaggy Dog story?
No, I don't want to. Goodbye. Bye, everyone.
So go to the Discord and ask us. If people remember next week, ask me for the original Shaggy Dog story.
I'm absolutely not giving Carl any space to turn this into a 20-minute
This podcast will go to 3 hours long if I tell the Shaggy Dog story.
I'm not giving him any air for that one. I'll let you have one.
Everybody.
Oh, thank you all for watching. I hope everyone has a lovely time.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. There you go.